It's doing that again. Why do I always have this problem? How do you guys see me here? Why is my phone upright and I'm looking at myself sideways in the video here? Okay, that's better. Okay, so let me load up my page here and go to the live stream. How you doing, guys? Got some stories for you all. Click on my page here, live stream, so I can see the chat. I can see the chat. I can see the chat. What's with all the background noise? Okay, that's better. All right. So who's all in here now? How many we got in here? We got 5 people. I'm gonna get into these stories that I got, but we gotta wait for a bit. Get some more people in here. We got 7 people in here now. Happy New Year, everybody. Okay, Timon's in here. How you doing? Always count on Timon to be in. Why is the screen pausing now? It'll come back up. Maybe it's just the laptop. Let me just check my internet connection here. I was supposed to log into my Wi-Fi on the laptop. Guys, setting up this live stream for YouTube, it really sucks, man. You know, some people, they use a program to run the live stream, and that helps things a lot better. And it allows everything to be set up properly, it looks like. I got this light shining in my face. It's a little bit bright. I might turn it down a bit. That's why I'm squinting. But yeah, I'm gonna have to refresh this page, see if that's it. Okay, there we go. Well, after I refresh, it came back. So what's going on with everybody? We got 15 people in here now. and hopefully get some more numbers here. Let's see if we get up to like 35, 40 people. Hopefully people coming and going. I got a few likes already. Nice to see you guys. Happy New Year and all that good stuff. Hope everybody's Christmas was good. And yeah, did a little something for my daughter. I made a reindeer out of birch logs, and she really enjoyed it. I just found some stuff around in the shop to make it. I had the birch logs sitting there, which I was trying to sell. Excuse me. And I said, well, you know what? I could make a reindeer with those. So after a couple weeks of thinking about it, I said, okay, yeah, I'll go and do it. And I put it together. I wish I could upload a picture here, but I can't, because I'm just using YouTube itself for the live stream. And yeah, so I started putting it together, and I had some deer antlers that I screwed to it. And I didn't do the traditional style, how a lot of people make them with the very thin branches, and then the birch logs for the body and the head. I did it all with logs, so it actually looks a little bit like a dog. It's got the big stocky legs and whatnot. And then I had to figure out his nose, so I had a fishing bobber, one of those red and white ones, and I stuck that on it and put a screw in it, and it was a little beat up, and of course it's red and white, so I just took some red electrical tape and I wrapped it around, and I made the Rudolph's nose. And then for the eyes, I was like, okay, well, I gotta find some eyes, so what can I do? So I had a few jugs laying around the shop, and I just took the white caps off of them, and then I did a cutout, and then I spray painted the eyes onto the reindeer, and she really liked it. She really enjoyed it, you know. But yeah, and she also printed me or wrote up a little red card. Let me go and get it actually. Put this together, and it says, "Dear Daddy, thank you for taking me to places. Merry Christmas." And what I do is I try to enrich my daughter and bring her to lots of places to learn about nature and to learn about history and stuff like that. So we go to all kinds of events, farm related stuff, fishing related stuff, nature relating stuff, and historical stuff. Last summer past, I took her to Niagara Falls, and we went down by the whirlpool to check out the fishermen down there, and it was so hot that the guys were sitting in the river, in the Niagara River, obviously in the still water, and they were sitting in the water and fishing that way. And we went on the Aero car, which is a cable car that goes across the river at the whirlpool, right? So you see the rapids, which is the fastest part of the Niagara River, that's pouring into the whirlpool, and the whirlpool is like a circle, and the Aero car rides above it, right? And then we also went into the original power plant designed by Nikola Tesla on the Canadian side here, and they have like a tourist exhibit for the power plant, and then they actually incorporated a presentation about Nikola Tesla, and they have a Tesla coil on the ceiling, and they're blasting electricity, so all these electrical bolts were shooting out of this thing, right? And then you go down into the glass elevator down beside the old turbines, and you end up in the drainage tunnel, and they made like a walkway out to the river. So we've been doing lots of stuff like that, and she's had a good year, and lots to look forward to this year coming up. In terms of what's happened here, so these stories have a few different elements to them, and let's get started on them. So what should I start off with first? There's the Woodhauler, there's the tree service company, and the Woodyard. So I guess I'll start off with the Woodyard. So I went up there one day, and I had to get some smoker wood ready. I was going to bag up some smoker wood for the smokehouse, and when I reached up there, I saw a notice on the door. It's an old house that's now a commercial property, and the landlord sits in there and does his thing. And so he wasn't there, but I went up to the door and I saw the notice and I read it and said that the woodyard is, my woodyard's in the back of the property and the rest of the property is rental space for vehicles, construction equipment, stuff like that. I see some people in the chats here. Hi, Baldy. Yeah, I'm getting there, you know. It is what it is, man. I'm 48 and a half years old. Yeah, somebody says, shut up to Olivia. Well, whatever, man. I don't care. All good, you know. Let me see. Let me go through the chat here. Oh, there's only 3 messages in here right now after timing. John Valentaki said hi. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's funny. Somebody just came in here. I don't know who that is. And they're like, hi, Baldy. Whatever, man. You know. Anyways, I guess with age comes wisdom and loss of hair too. You know, for some people anyway, right? But anyways, so at the Woodyard, I saw the notice that says it's closed by the sheriff. Right? It doesn't say why, so I inquired to ChatGPT what it could be about. There's a certain stipulation or whatever. I can't remember what it says there. But anyways, so I said, okay, well, I got to get my smoker wood. Now, the gate to the yard, I can just slip through between the house and the post for the gate. So what I had to do was go and take all my Tupperware bins and throw the smoker wood into those, and then I had to wheelbarrow them up to the front, and then I had to actually unload them from the Tupperware bin there because they couldn't fit through the post in the house. So I had to throw them into another bin and then put them in my truck. So I loaded up 10 bins and then put them in my truck and took them away. So then I talked to the landlord after, and actually the tow truck guys were there too. Those guys showed up, and one of the guys' cars, because he's driving the tow truck, the flatbed, so his car was stuck inside the yard, right? So he was in a dilemma himself as well. So anyways, I called the landlord and asked him what's going on, and well, sometimes he tells the story straight as it is, sometimes he doesn't, but I got more of the story later on. And basically what he told me was the people who, I guess, I don't know what type of position they are, but it's people who take care of certain things regarding the property there. And they were supposed to be paying the property taxes, but they didn't pay the taxes. And I didn't think that this was about the landlord not paying the rent, because this guy's loaded. This guy's got 9 cars, including a Bentley, right? So, yeah, it's something like that. And this was just before Christmas, so he said he's going to try and get it sorted out. Obviously, people are away during Christmas, so yeah, it's hard to get court situation going on, especially emergency situation as well, right? So he got it sorted out, and he got the woodyard opened up again. Now, this wasn't a huge problem for me at the time, because this time of year it's just dead slow. Like, there was hardly any wood left to sell, and I'm not doing much because of the weather. You know, we had a lot of snow. Winter's come like a month and a half early this year. We had a big snowstorm in early November, and usually we'll have like a couple snowfalls, but later on in November and December, and then a number of winters we've had, or the end of fall going into December, it's been mild, and we haven't even had to deal with snow. But we had this huge snow, not huge, but we had a big snowstorm on I think it was like November the 7th or something, right? So the weather's been crap. It's been kind of cold. We've had some colder spells, but the weather's just been crap with the rain and the cold and stuff like that. So I haven't been going into the yard, and so this problem didn't really affect me that much. So the woodyard got opened up a few days later and still didn't need to go in there. And then he called me and he said the police came to lock the yard down again, right? So that happened again, and it's opened up now. Everything's cool. And he said, he told me some of the details about what's going on. And he said he's going to sue the people who are entrusted to take care of this financial stuff or legal stuff, whatever it is, with the city, and deal with the property tax situation. And he said it's quite a big deal and he's very unhappy about it. So that's that. That's out of the way. That's one thing. And another thing is the Woodhauler. So this year the Woodhauler has been down, and usually it's either I just go and buy another truck. You know, I save up the money, I go and buy a truck, no problem. And who said you sound Canadian? Yeah, I am Canadian actually. Toronto, Canada. Fourth biggest city in North America. Anyways, the Woodhauler, I had a problem with the tailgate not going up back in April, and I have other issues to work out on the truck, and I was going to get a guy to come and take care of it, and that guy, he no longer has his place of business and he's doing mobile work. So I was waiting for a chance to get this guy to come in and do a whole bunch of work, and I put it off, and I've been renting a U-Haul trailer for months. And yeah, usually, you know, if I want to buy a truck or I have a problem with the truck, I either get it fixed or I go and I buy another truck, right? And it's been hard to save because, you know, here is very expensive in Toronto. Canada's more expensive than the US to begin with, and of course we've had the inflation in the last like 2 or is it 3 years? Going on 2.5 years now, right? So it's been tough to save up some money for a truck like I have done before, you know what I mean? So U-Haul just bumped their price up $5 a day for the trailer. I didn't rent the trailer every day. I'm also in the scrap metal business and junk removal, so I use it for those purposes too, not just firewood. And it got to the point where it was too long that I was renting the trailer and not working on my truck situation. So I had the guy, the fabricator guy, come to work on the truck, and then he checked the tailgate, and there was not enough oil inside the tailgate motor. The reservoir, and so that was the problem. That's really why I stopped using the truck. It's because of the tailgate, right? If I can't load heavy stuff on the truck, then the truck is essentially useless, you know. So I just had it sitting in the shop, and I used the Tahoe and the utility trailer. So with winter coming around, I said, okay, well, I don't really want to be driving a trailer during the winter. I'm not going to be doing much work over the next couple of months. And I can't remember the other details, but it's like, okay, well, something's got to give here, so I got to get a truck, right? So I had to put some money together and get rid of some stuff so I could put together some money to buy a truck, and I found a truck. And what happened to the Woodhauler, the thumbnail picture that's not an accident or anything. That's the truck in the scrapyard. And where's Daniel Atkins? Because I put a post on YouTube, text post with the same picture, and he said, that's not your truck. And I said, yes it is, right? So here's the story about it, because it does look different, right? I took the wooden boards out of the sides, and you can't really see the pillars that I had the boards installed in the truck, so it kind of didn't look like my truck to begin with, you know. But yeah, that's me, Daniel. That's my truck, and I took it into the scrapyard on December 31st, and I got $700 in scrap. That's probably about maybe $500 US. So I started parting the truck out and took out what I could. I was thinking of it more in terms of scrap instead of just parts. But I've got the crankshaft pulley, harmonic balancer. I took out the aluminum intake and one of the pipes, and then the manifold. That was aluminum. The turbo was aluminum mixed with steel. And the alternator. What else? I didn't get the starter out. I cut all the wiring out. The tensioner pulley is iron, aluminum, and steel. I think I got the clutch fan off too, and then I was trying to get the injection pump, and that's the money right there. So the injection pump is worth about $300 at least. So I tried to get it out, and there's like a cylindrical piece on the end of it, and that's inside a housing that's in where the water pump is. And and I had the pump all loose and everything, and I couldn't get the pump out. And you have to slide it out of that hole. It's just a thin wall, and I just had to pull it out straight and it would come out, but it wouldn't come out. I sat there for hours and hours trying to get that thing out, going into the night, and I was even standing on the floor inside the engine bay trying to get that thing out. I was climbing all over the truck. I was all over the thing. I couldn't get the injection pump out, but I did have an injection pump sitting around, and somebody came and bought that, and the fuel lines were attached to it too. He said he wanted the fuel lines. I was just going to sell everything all together for $300, but he said, how much for the lines? I said $50. So $350 I got for that. And I haven't really got money for anything else. I just sold the transmission to somebody today for only scrap price, but the transmission is missing reverse, and it's going to be put in a 55 Chevy, so it's going to be revived. The guy's going to rebuild it himself, and then he's going to put together this 55 Chevy. I'm not sure what car it is or whatever, but yeah. What else do I have? There's somebody called me about the harmonic balancer today, and there's two different styles. So I told him there's one style where one is a cylindrical like a puck and it's flush on the back, and the other one has a housing that shoots out from the back of it. So make sure he knows which one it is. Let's see, look at the chat here. Bleeding, healing, Miss Cheering. You're originally from Windsor, Ontario. Pretty cool. Windsor, just across the river from Detroit. I'm in Toronto. I'm in the East End. I live on the Scarborough North York border, Victoria Park. I'm near the DVP and 401. And yeah, then my Woodyard is in Scarborough. It's in East Scarborough towards Pickering. Yeah, my name's Anthony. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Did I own horses in the 90s? No, I didn't own horses in the 90s. Daniel asks, is my truck totaled? No, it's not totaled. It's at the end of his life, and I said, you know what? No more spending on it, because it's too many problems that I had to deal with beyond parts repairs, electrical, electrical diagnosis, welding, stuff like that. So it's stuff you'd have to spend, a few hundred here, a few hundred there, and you're not really doing much to the truck. And it was still basically functioning. I did use it a bit just in the neighborhood to do scrap, and like I go to my mechanic shops and pick up scrap there, or sometimes I go out with a buddy and pick up some scrap, and if anything I have to take apart and process, I just keep it at my shop and I throw it in the truck later. Stuff like that. The on-time people, they drop stuff off to me that's broken or in a state of disrepair or whatever, and I've been using it just in the neighborhood at the shop. And anything else about the truck? Oh yeah, I cashed out the tailgate too. The tailgate was like $140 or something in aluminum. And what else did I do? I still have the wooden boards for the walls. I kept those for the next truck. And what else? I still got a bunch of other parts, because I had that motor that seized up on me. I took that old block to the scrapyard. What else? A few other things. I kept some of the rims because the tires are good, and the tires are fitting on this other truck I got. So let's talk about the other truck. Let's go back to the chat here. Hey Anthony, sounds like you're having a tough time. Yeah, this year sucked for me. 2025, not good, man. I only went to the lake fishing once. Usually I go twice a year, and the fishing was really bad. I didn't catch anything worth noting, and I was with Stan the Bassman, of course, and he caught just a couple big ones, maybe 3 or 4, and 2 of them were really big, smallmouth bass. That's what I go up there for. Anybody interested in fishing, you want to see my videos of me smashing the smallmouth, go into my playlist and look at my fishing playlist, and we get nice smallmouth, about anywhere from 3 to 5 pounds. We used to get a lot of 6 pounders in that lake, but not so much. But the numbers are coming back, and maybe we'll get some nice 20, 21 inches, 6 pounds this season coming up. And like I said, fishing was kind of dead everywhere this whole season. Nobody was really catching anything good. And not nobody, but you know, a lot of people, other lakes all over, right? Ontario's like a fishing haven because we got the most fresh water in the world, right? There's 250,000 lakes, rivers, and streams. So I know a lot of fishermen, and keep in contact with them, see how things been doing and whatnot, you know. What else? Yeah, this work's been slow, even with the spring workload. That's when everything gets busy. So picking up wood, processing wood, picking up scrap metal, junk removal, the barrel sales. Everything started late this year, and I've been used to, way back over the years, business would start, people would start calling for the barrels in like February and March, right? And then March, people would start calling up because they want to start getting jobs done. They start going through stuff, cleaning stuff out. They start getting ready for the spring. So this year was a big time delay, and you know, so after coming out of Christmas, people got no money to do stuff. It's winter, it's quiet, it's dead, it's cold. So this year, spring business didn't start till like May. So it was a slow start for the year, and just not much business over this year. Last year was amazing. A lot of good work I got last year, and took care of a lot of things that I had to do. But yeah, 2025 just no good, you know. We go through the chats a little bit more, and then I'll talk about the new truck. Not to catch you off guard, or maybe just your twin. Maybe you remind me of Stefan. Yeah, I don't know who that is. Every once in a while, people say I look like somebody. You know who I look like that you guys might know? Some people have told me this. I look like Donald Brashear, more from the side though. And I have a picture where I look just like him. And he's actually Canadian. He's from Quebec somewhere. Toronto, deep voice, bro like my dad. Yeah, they got good fireworks there. I hope your goals and dreams come true this 2026. What stands out from last year? What hopes for this year? Well, so this year, yeah, so getting a truck, that's one thing. Getting out on the lake and fishing, that's another thing. What else? Well, I go to bed too late, and that's thanks to YouTube. I got in a bad habit of staying up late and editing videos, but it's also to blame on the Firewood business too, because in 2021, when I started the channel, that summer I got into video editing, and it was like a whole learning curve, something really interesting for me to do. It's like there's like this wall that I hit when making the videos, and I wanted to edit and incorporate sounds and this and that, you know, all the fixins that you have when you're putting out a video. Before, I just use YouTube editor to take out certain parts of the video and slap it all together, right? So that was like a whole learning curve that I was really enthusiastic about getting into and doing. And then I had wood like crazy. There was wood to pick up all over the place, and usually I don't get wood dropped off to me, but I kept getting calls with people with dump trailers and 30-yard bins to drop off wood. And the wood, my old Woodyard, not the one I'm in now, but the old Woodyard was packed full of wood. I had a pile that was about, I don't know, 85 feet long, 25 feet wide, and up to 4 feet, 4.5 feet high in the middle. So I got in this bad habit of staying up late, and I got to kick that habit, and I got to get up earlier and take care of things. You know, even though like I put in 12 hours a day, the thing is, it's better to be able to do stuff during the day instead of the evening. It's nice and quiet in the evening, so I don't get disturbed, and that's why I go and split wood. But just for my other businesses, which are easier, this helps if I start my day earlier, you know. You're looking for an electric Mercedes electric power steering rack. Sorry, can't help you there, man. I'm not into parts and stuff. I love your vibe, so sure I'll sub and like. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Um, 2025 was okay with me, not the greatest, but I don't think I could have done better with the economy. Oh, the man, you're in London. Okay, yeah, if you want to find my email, it's in the description box of all my videos. So go check that out and you can send me an email if you want. Now this year is better because we have some lower fuel prices, and in Canada the gas has always been more expensive than the United States, and we're getting a little break here now. So let's do a conversion. What would the price now be per liter? In Vancouver, Canada, which is more expensive than Toronto. Toronto's expensive in itself. Vancouver is significantly more. Let's see. So if the price is $1.30 per liter, that's about $1 US. I think it's about roughly $4 per gallon. Is that what the gas price is here? Joe's Firewood is in the house. Nice to see you, Joe. Happy New Year. A lady in Ontario called me Sunday and got scammed out of $100 by someone pretending to be on Facebook Marketplace. Never prepay for firewood on Facebook Marketplace. Oh man, people try anything, you know. I don't know why people just don't appreciate like a nice, honest work, man. You know. Let me just turn down the brightness on my light here. It's pretty bright. It's causing me to squint. Okay, that's better. I think the next time I get up, I'm gonna have myself a celebratory beer for 5 years on YouTube. January 12th, 2021 is when I started this channel. And I wanted to do something on YouTube for a long time, or at least make videos. I thought about going on YouTube, but it's more about just making videos and being able to. I started off with the politics, and that was during, you know, post 2020, so the censorship hit. And it's like, wow, you know, this is like a big wall that they put up in front of you when this happens. I mean, we know the censorship has been there, but when you experience yourself, it's like a big roadblock, and you don't know what to do next. You don't know how to go from there. And so I just gave up on that idea. And I was talking obviously about what was going around at that time, and all the lies that were coming out. And it was very frustrating to not be able to talk about it. And there's even, I made like 3 or 4 videos or 5 videos, and you know, one of them or 2 of them I didn't even talk in them, and I got banned, right? Just for presenting information on the screen. But here I am 5 years later, so let me get a beer and open it. So cheers. 5 years on YouTube, meeting a great community of great people, hardworking people who understand what procuring stuff out of the environment for yourself is, for being self-sufficient, for being more into nature, more grounded, more hardworking than the average person. You know, I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming out. Nice meeting you guys for some good laughs and learning about firewood too, and learning how to improve my business, and lots of skills that I've learned there, you know. Let's see. I think I'm pretty much caught up with the chats here. Colleen says cattle prices are record highs. Of course. Well, you know, they're trying to shut down farming, right? If anybody doesn't know about the nitrogen situation with farmers, they're saying that the farmers are emitting too much nitrogen, so they have to cut back on the nitrogen. So when they start doing the numbers to be in compliant with those regulations, like, okay, well, we're going to be out of business. So there's been protests in Europe as well, where they've been protesting against this, where you have the farmers showing up with their tractors to the government buildings and spreading manure all over the government buildings, And a couple of years back, we had a tractor convoy in downtown Toronto. So imagine that, a whole bunch of tractors showed up to protest what was going on. But farmers feed cities. I only see a number of those bumper stickers around here, even in Toronto. So the band, where are you from? Because you never heard of Seattle? Everybody's heard of Seattle. You thought I was turning white? Well, I'm pretty pale in the winter too. I have like two different colors. I get tanned in the summer. So yeah, I'm pretty light right now. The man says, why everyone have firewood mean? What do you mean mean? I don't get it. Daniel, is it raining at your place? As we have a beautiful weather here. Oh, Colleen, yeah, it's that warm, huh? Yeah, it was only 3 degrees Celsius here today. So that would be what? I don't know, about 40 something degrees Fahrenheit. Are things better in Canada since Soy Boy has been gone? Well, I'll tell you something, Joe. The moment Mr. Turr said he's resigning, immediately I said, they've got a replacement from that 3-letter organization to go and fulfill his position. And usually I'm a person who sits back and I don't make assumptions. I'm quite educated on things, and I know so many things that's I have pattern recognition now for certain things. So that's when I see new things, I can understand it because I have this pattern recognition. And but even with what happened in 2020 came in, I said, let me sit back and see when the bodies start piling up, right? Not like how in the news they try to make it, which was not many, a lot of deaths, but overall the numbers are not big compared to how many people are living, right? I said, let me sit back and I'll see what happens, and when the bodies start piling up, then I'll say, okay, this thing is as dangerous as it is, So yeah, I don't like to get ahead of myself and make assumptions. But anyways, when Mr. Soy Boy was gone, I immediately said they have somebody else who's coming into his place. Now the funny thing is, the new guy here who's running the show in Canada, people don't know who he is. Okay, so I'm always watching political stuff, and I know a lot of faces, I know a lot of situations, I know a lot of names, I know a lot of leaders, I know a lot of people in the circles of power. Okay, I'm quite familiar, and the current leader here I knew nothing about, really, almost nothing. I've heard the name before, but that's probably just breezing through the news or something like that. And it's amazing how many people have even less of an idea who he is, but of course they went out and chose him to lead the country. And there's some gerrymandering here in the country as well. The opposition leader, they went and changed the boundaries of his riding so that it incorporated more liberal government workers to vote in his riding. And in his riding, he ran the place for 20 years in Ottawa, and the Conservatives did extremely well in the last election, but somehow he lost. And not only that, they had like 90 something candidates on the ballot, right? And that this happened to other Conservative MPs as well. They were running, and then they ended up losing too, right? So we got shafted here big time. And of course, people voted for the same political party as last time. And, I guess they were bent over, and, they took it, where. for the last 10 years, and they said, I didn't get enough, I need more. So, they bent over again, and then they chose a new leader, right? But yeah, people are very brainwashed here. It's the cities, it's the East Coast. That's the problem here in Canada, just like the United States, and well, just like anywhere in the world, I guess, right? And in the Western world, anyway. They have lots of libs in the big cities, and they don't know what's going on, and they're voting based on compassion and everything. So yeah, we're getting screwed here. They said groceries are going to go up $1,000 per family this year. There's been talk by our leader of the pipeline, but he's not going to do the pipeline. I'm calling it out for now. And now a whole bunch of people, even that guy Dimitri in one of the Firewood Facebook groups, he said this is going to affect Canada's energy firewood prices because of what's happening with Venezuela, right? And somebody messaged me and they said, oh, well, look what this guy said. He talks a lot of crap, and this is just another one of those occasions. But I said, no, I could understand it, because everything is about a balance of energy, okay? And also energy is a sign of your prosperity. We were talking about farms earlier, and farms where you get the good health foods. And the reason why they're shutting down farms and they're telling people to be vegetarian is because they want to shut down the farms, right? So all the meat that you get from the farms and everything. I'll tell you another thing about food in Canada, or fake food. Yeah, so basically it's for the individual, they're trying to shut off the energy, and where you don't eat certain things that are good for you, right? And you indulge in the pharmaceutical system to fix the problems because you haven't been eating properly, right? And then now we see this comeback of the all meat diets, right? That's come back, and that's a big thing that's going against vegetarianism. And beef tallow is a new thing, right? Beef fat, and people's mindsets before was, oh, well, it's fat, so it's bad for you. But no, it's good fat. It's actually good for you, right? But kind of digress from my point here. I forgot what I was talking about. But Venezuela. So with oil, so if oil goes cheap, that means people are going to lean more to using heating oil for heating instead of firewood. And the only reason why we burn firewood is because we love it, because it smells good. It's something that people enjoy doing the work to procure firewood. So that's why people do it. But if energy goes really cheap, that's really going to hurt the firewood business. Okay, just remember I said that, guys. Okay, if firewood gets more expensive, then people are going to say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore because it's so much work to heat myself with this, so I'm going to get out of it. You know what I mean? And even if it doesn't go expensive, but the heating oil goes cheap, well, then that's going to affect the firewood business. So it's all about different energy sources and how they play into everything, and how one overlaps the other regarding price, right? The lady in Ontario who got scammed supports Canada being the 51st state. Yeah, and then there's talk about Greenland too. It's funny because you see what's happening with these things about how Trump is going here and doing this and that. It's funny how people look at it, because what it is he's trying to say that he doesn't want other parts of the world being subject to other powerful nations, right? So it's like he's kind of locking down resources and stuff. Maybe not necessarily, like say Venezuela, he's not necessarily trying to keep the oil for America, right? Apparently what he's doing is he's trying to get Venezuelans the oil money, and they're trying not to have the oil go to Venezuela, Iran, and they're trying to get Venezuela's oil to not go to Russia, Iran, and China, right? And there's the whole energy thing, and a nation that prospers is a nation that has a lot of energy, right? Same thing with the World Wars too. And well, I can't speak on World War I, but I know World War II was a big factor, was energy. And when the Germans were in Operation Barbarossa, the Eastern Front, big problem that they had, why they part of the reason why they lost the war was because of their lack of energy. When they went to take Stalingrad, they were supposed to go and take the Caucasus oil fields, but Hitler had a vendetta with Stalin to go and destroy the city that was named after Stalin. So we separated Army Group South, and then he sent them to Stalingrad, not enough troops to take the city, and then they lost the city. And then even the rest of Army Group South that was supposed to go and aid the troops in Stalingrad, they weren't able to intervene and help out the other half of the army group, right? So yeah, and the thing I was going to say about food and fake food here is Canada has just approved what's it called, re-milk or something, and it's milk that's made in a lab and it's not made by cows. So here's tying into the whole energy thing and farming. Okay, well, if they figure out how to make fake milk, then that means it's gonna really hamper the proliferation of the dairy farm business, right? So I know, Colleen, you like that I know about this farm stuff, you know? I know about a lot of things. I'm not saying I know so much, but you know, I just understand a lot of things because I keep my ears open. I don't say, oh, well, I'm not interested in that, so I'm not looking it up, you know? That's not me. I just look up stuff to try and understand them and know how they fit into everything, right? You don't have to be interested in everything to learn about a lot of stuff. It actually brings you a lot of understanding to learn about things instead of just personal interest and personal satisfaction, you know? But yeah, I got to get into my story about the new truck. I did pick up a new truck. So the truck is a 2006, and that's the last year of that generation. It's a 3500. It's not HD. It's a Duramax, and it has the Allison transmission, and it's got 300,000 kilometers, which is roughly, that's just over 200,000 miles, and it's an extended cab truck, which I didn't want to get, and it has a dump box on it, and the dump box is just under 9 feet. So before, my box on the other truck was 11 feet, and with the tailgate attached to it, that gave me an extra like 4.5 or no, about 5 inches, maybe 5.5 inches. So now I have a shorter bed, but the bed is wider. It's 4x4, and I'm in a way, like, I'm happy with the truck for certain reasons, but in a way I'm kind of regretting it because the box is not long, so I can't hold as much stuff in it in terms of volume, and the truck is heavier, so I don't know if maybe the extended cab is makes it heavier than the truck with just the dump box. But also because it's 4x4, that's probably adding about maybe, I don't know, maybe 500 to 600 pounds of weight onto the truck. And I went to the scrapyard the other day, and the truck said it was 9,200 pounds. So the other Woodhauler was 7,800 pounds, right? So a 1,400 pound difference. And the reason why that makes a difference for me, it's not about the fuel mileage. Apparently my older truck was has better fuel mileage than the Duramax, right? But I'm happy with the truck has more power for when I do have heavy loads. And I was considering getting the gas truck, but when you're hauling heavy loads, you need the diesel. Okay, there's a kid that I know. He's not a kid, he's older now. He's probably about 25, but I met him when he's about 16, coming by the shop to go to the neighbor and sell scrap. He used to come with his grandfather. He now lives out of town, and he buys these trucks to part them out. And he was telling me, yeah, you're gonna need the diesel to haul the extra weight stuff, you know. I wanted the gas truck to have less operational costs for running the truck, but the diesel helps you save fuel because you get a lot of kilometers out of it, right? So inevitably I said, okay, no, I'm just gonna get a diesel truck. I gotta do a bunch of cutting on the truck to take stuff off, and some of that I've been doing already, and some stuff I'll do when I get ready to build up the walls and put a tailgate on it. My last truck, I found the tailgate for $900, and I got it out of town. Everything I get out of town, guys, stuff like this equipment, I go out of town, because in Toronto it's either you can't find it or it's expensive, right? So I got the truck from I guess it's about 45 minutes west of Toronto, half an hour from Toronto to the east. In Oshawa, I found a tailgate that I still have yet to pick up, and it's only $100. So compared to $900 11 years ago, right? That would be like almost $2,000 in today's money, right? So finding a tailgate now for $100 is good. Now the thing is, the tailgate, I have to check how high the guides are for the legs for the tailgate, because I don't want them to be too high. It's from like a box truck, and yeah, I have to actually ask the guy the measurements for it. But also the tailgate is a little more narrower than the truck box, and this would have been perfect for the other truck with the 7-foot wide box, right, 84 inches. The only problem with having the thing too narrow is when you go to dump the loads, especially wood, it might get caught up and stuck inside, and then you got to take a pry bar just to get the stuff to fall out of the truck. Not a big deal. Overall, it can be done, but for $100, can't go wrong. You know what I mean? What else with the truck? Noticed there was diesel smell coming into the cab, and I guess that's the reason why the guy wanted to sell the truck. And the diesel smell, if in these trucks, and my Tahoe is from the next generation, it's an '07, and I actually wanted to buy an '07 and up work truck, and I didn't really see any out there. I got this truck for $5,000, which is like, I don't know, $3,700 US. So it's a good deal on the truck, right? The dump box is nice and sturdy and everything. The body's in roughly good shape. It's white with the flat black fender flares in the front, right? And it's pretty good shape, you know, overall. There's a hole in the floor that I have to repair. They've repaired the floor, but they didn't do a good job on it. There's like a piece of plywood as well, right? So I got to rip that out, get that sorted out. But yeah, it's a good deal that I got for the truck. And anything else about the truck? No, that's it. I've pretty much covered what I need to cover about it. But yeah, I got to put together some money so that I can build it up and get it into fully operational, or get it fully operational. The main thing is getting the tailgate so that I can go and pick up the heavy stuff, whether it's scrap metal or whether it's firewood, you know? And it's tough getting in the truck now because it's the height of the bed is up to my stomach, right? So when I pick up some scrap, like I can pick up a washing machine and throw it in there, and if I get a fridge, I can lean the fridge on, I can tip it and put it in. But yeah, it's going to be a hassle, more with the wood than the scrap metal. You know, speaking of scrap metal, I got like a 4,000-pound machine today, and they had stripped down a whole bunch of parts on it, but a bunch of the wire was there. There was some brass, some electric motors, but it was like 20 feet long, this thing, and it's from a company called Apotex, and they make like a PVC pipe, right, or PVC conduit. It's a huge factory, and it's like 5 minutes from the Woodyard. Excuse me, and they got a bunch of stuff there as well. There's a guy who's contracted to do some work there, and he called me up today to go pick up that machine, and I got Sweet Mark, the tow truck guy, to come, and he doesn't use a tow truck anymore because the cops are always pulling him over, so he just uses like a ramp trailer so he can tow his cars with that. He's got a dually, I don't know, 2007, 2008 Chevy Silverado with the Duramax. And we went there, and the machine just fit on the truck. It had to sit a little bit off of the flatbed trailer towards the front, but it fit. And then they got some other pieces in there that I got to go pick up tomorrow. Let's go back to the chats. Colleen says it's cooling down. Yeah, it's going to be cooling down big time. It's not going to be super freezing. It's not going to be a real cold snap, but it's kind of going into normal winter weather here. It has been warmer. I would say warm. We've had some warm days. It was up to 10 degrees, and that would be what, 50 and change Fahrenheit. But it's been around zero or freezing temperature. It's been a little above that, and it hasn't been that cold. But we've had a lot of snow, guys, and the snow's just been coming, and the snow's melted now, so there's just piles of snow where the snow's been piled up from the snow piles, and then there's There's ice on the ground, like on the grass. There's lots of ice because all that snow is melted and turned into ice. And even the Woodyard, a bunch of the wood is stuck in ice. Um, Joe says his customers don't burn for heat; they burn for ambience. That's just like me. I'm in a city, so it's houses with fireplaces. The odd person has um, the odd person has the wood stove here, and sometimes they only want 12-inch wood. Actually, a guy called me today. He said he wants a full cord or a bush cord of 12-inch. I didn't ask if he has a wood stove, but that's what he requested, so maybe that's what it's for. And he says, "Oh no, you sold me wood before." And people have said this before too. "Oh, you sold me wood before." No, it wasn't me, man. I've never had a full cord of 12-inch firewood for sale. So the guy must have mixed up my company name with the contact number that he had, right? Because I said, like, the most I do is like 2 crates or 2 face cords of 12-inch. I've never done more than that. I might have long time ago, but even this guy, he's not referring to me, because I think he was referring to buying the wood like last year or something. Robert Blacksmith is in the house. Your 95 GMC truck has no rust outside. All 31 years used for firewood. Lots of rain on the west coast. Vancouver, aka Vancouver. Well, yeah, you're out there in BC, in Vancouver, and you guys use no road salt. And my 91 4Runner came from out there. It came from Surrey, BC. I had that truck from 2007 to 2018, and I picked that thing up for $4,000, which would be about maybe 2,800 US. It had 145,000 kilometers, or about 90,000 miles, and yeah, it was a good truck, man. But it's a gas guzzler for 3-liter V6. And I got a bigger boat, and I had to get rid of it. And I also had a problem with it not starting in the winter, because I don't know, I guess I had maybe a parasitic drain, but I wouldn't drive it through the week except to work. It takes like 8 minutes to get to work and back, right? Check my battery here, it should be good. And I took my case off here, so I'm not going to have a problem with overheating and the phone shutting down. I think back in the day, when I used to do live streams previously, right? Okay, I got lots of juice, it's plugged in and it's charging. Yeah, so my 4Runner, I took it off the road and I bought a Toyota Matrix. And this is when I was in a family situation. I thought I was going to be moving and have to commute, so I bought this Matrix. And it was a fun little car, 5-speed. It's like a rally car, you know what I mean? It was 2-door. And it's really fun to drive, guys. Everybody laughs at those things, right? But they're a good, reliable car. The only problem was the GM transmission. You could get the XRS in standard. It was 6-speed, but the regular 5-speed GM transmission, something would cause the throw-out bearing to go. And then mine, when it got really bad, and even the plate that the throw-out bearing goes into, that whole plate had to be replaced. So that's what happened then. But that truck I sold for 1,800 Canadian, which would probably be about 1,400 US at the time. And I could get easily $12,000 for that truck right now if I had it, because there's none on the road anymore. There's hardly any, right? And they would rust out here before they actually die, So too bad I didn't hold on to it, but I don't like holding on to things. I just put that money back into circulation. Going through the chats, I got to get into my third story here too, about getting banned from the tree service. How about that, guys? What a funny story. Very frustrating, but what a stupid story. Yeah, the man says Canada is immigrants' country. We never support conservatives. That's right. People don't know what's going on here, man. People are so lost here, guys. It's like I said, it's the city people, and yeah, Canada's screwed, man. There's one time I was at the Back 40 live stream, and you guys were in the U.S. were celebrating July 1st. So I chimed in. I typed QQQ so my message could be brought up on the screen. So Dan he put my message on the screen, and I said, "Happy birthday, USA! July 4th is Canada's birthday. It was a great country." And Dad started laughing when he saw that I said it was a great country. Oh yeah, I also said I thought that our country would be going down a bad path and following the United States into that path. But no, it's actually Canada is kind of leading that path right now. You know what I mean? So after Trump came in, we were hoping for a nice conservative win here. You know what's funny too? The conservatives are up by like 30 points or something here, and then all of a sudden the news just said the conservative leader, he's like Trump. And then Canadians, they shit their pants, and then they just said, okay, let's just vote liberal again, even though the liberals screwed us over for the last 10 years. So let's just hold a mock funeral for Canada, you know? Yeah, in the last, Joe says, the lady in Canada says we're overwhelmed with immigrants. Yeah, because in the last 2 years now, they cut down on the immigration recent administration, but in a couple of years ago, they just brought in tons. They were already bringing tons, like hundreds of thousands to begin with. Maybe not that much per year, but close anyway. But they just brought all kinds in like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago or whatever, right? And it's funny because a clip came up on YouTube, and it's our former leader Soy Boy debating the former prime minister who lost in that election back in 2015 it was, and they were having a debate, and then the other guy, Mr. Harper, he said, what happens if we get the liberals to come in and they're going to let in hundreds of thousands of immigrants per year? And then you could see Soy Boy, and he's interrupting me saying, that's not true, that's not true. Well, it is true. It happened. Okay? Uncle V, how you doing? Nice to see you too, man. Weird, didn't get a notification for this live, just happened to see your post while I was scrolling. Yeah, YouTube's kind of funny about that. Elbows up, like, what is this elbows up thing? I don't even know the definition of it. It's like, yeah, we're shitting all over that term, but what does it actually even mean anyway? Somebody tell me anyway. Like, I don't know. What does it mean? Like, elbows up, or we're not taking anything, or we're on the defensive, and or we're blocking off attacks. I don't know what it means, but it just sounds so dumb. It kind of sounds Canadian too, right? But yeah, this yeah, it's very sad, guys, because it's like, yeah, United States is a great country for many reasons, and Canada was just this sidelines country that was really, really great, peaceful. You don't have to worry about crime. The crime's gotten a lot worse, but it's not that bad here. Like, Toronto's a very safe city still. Vancouver, there's a lot of crime there because it's just open drug use there like crazy, right? There has been a lot of an alarming increase in crimes in a way, with car thefts and carjacking and all this stuff. And then, they say they arrested 19 people for car thefts, and then they're just letting these people out on bail. I'm sure you guys have heard this stuff in the USA as well, right? About people getting let free, and all this sentiment about being nice to the criminals and everything. But yeah, so they arrested 19 people at one point for car theft, and 16 of them were out on bail for car theft previous charges, right? So it's a bit of a joke here. And what's funny is when people, they see this stuff and they say, why don't they do something about this in the first place? It's like, no, this is what they want to do. They want to cause chaos so that they can bring in a new system. They want the system to collapse so that the people even beg for a different system. And that system is a system that you don't actually want, right? So keep your heads up, guys. And, if you don't know already, deception is a big thing in these times. The Forest Passage, how you doing, man? Seems like you're having a really bad week. Well, things have kind of cleared up now, but I did put some clickbait in my thumbnail. Of course, that's how you do it on YouTube. But you got to make legitimate clickbait anyway. And So there is a lot of truth in what I said. It's 99% truth anyway. But yeah, just the story's changed a little bit. Things have smoothed out, whatnot. So just to update you, I still haven't talked about the third issue, which I'm going to get into in a second here. Uncle B says it's a shit term about elbows up. Yeah, it just sounds weak. It sounds ineffective. You know what I mean? So yeah, my truck, I took it to the scrapyard. That's what's up with the thumbnail picture. It's at the end of its life. It's 33 years old. I have to spend too much money welding the truck, doing electrical diagnosis, excuse me, having all these other problems. When I first got the engine put into that truck about 3 years ago, my landlord helped me put the engine in, and he's from the East Coast, and they say they just do anything and everything to get stuff done out there. So all these wires weren't hooked up and everything, signals weren't working right, heat wasn't working, heat was on and off, all these different things. And I had an argument with my mechanic this year about one of the wires, and I said, well, this was hooked up before, so you got to trace the wire and you got to figure out where it goes and what it does. And the guy's getting mad at me because I'm trying to tell him how to go about this situation. And then when I started stripping down the truck before I took it to the scrapyard, that's what I did with it. I drove it into the yard. I saw the other end of the wire that they didn't bother to trace, and there's like a panel for wires on the firewall, and this wire was supposed to be hooked up to there, right? And then after I swapped the motor, one of the grounds did get hooked up for one of the signal lights, and I noticed that the light would flicker at times when you start moving the truck. What happened was the battery was actually sitting on the wire, and it had eaten through the wire from all the vibration and everything, that the wire was actually getting grounded. So I taped that up, and then I put the ground back in, and then the signals were working properly and whatnot, right? But that's the story with that thing. About the Woodyard, yeah, so the people who are dealing with whatever property tax payments for the Woodyard, they weren't taking care of those payments, and the Woodyard got locked out. So I went up there one day and found out by seeing a piece of paper on the door, and then the landlord had an emergency intervention, and then the police came and they locked it down again, but then they opened it back up again. So everything's fine in the Woodyard now. And if you didn't hear about me getting another truck, I have another truck which I gotta go and fabricate and modify to firewood and scrap metal spec. Let's go through the chats one more time and we'll talk about the third story. And you guys have already had a little bit of exposure to my story about the tree service company. Firewood 50, what is up, my man? How you doing? Nice to see you. Everything good? Happy New Year and whatnot. Happy New Year to everybody else. Uncle D says, looks like I'm going to have to come to Ontario to get one. Nothing for sale here in Nova Scotia. Yeah, that's a funny thing. There's some stuff you can't get here. And even before 2020, the trucks, they were going down to the US because of the difference in the dollar. So it's been hard to find trucks here. And yeah, the market's not like how it used to be here. You used to have a lot of stuff just sitting around. You could go and buy it, and now, like, not really anymore. You know what I mean? And then even with finding the truck that I wanted, I didn't buy the actual setup that I wanted, but I did find a good truck anyway, so I'm going to make do with it. And I kind of had to get a truck and start getting that ball rolling too, instead of using the Tahoe and the trailer, because it's the Tahoe guzzles gas. You got to put it in tow mode to tow the trailer, so it revs up a lot, and you got the extra weight, and it's just not good paying the extra fee for the rental, which is cheap. And sometimes they'd actually give me a deal, and or the girl who manages the place, she likes me, right? So sometimes she gives me breaks, and she'll go and check out the trailer before I actually bring it back, so I'll have it an extra day or two. And there's one time I rented the trailer for a week, and I only paid for one day. So it has worked out. I haven't been renting the trailer every day, but the price has gone up $5 per day. So I said something's got to give with the winter coming in too, you know. Anyways, the final story. Let's talk about that. So anybody who's seen some of my videos in the past with me going to the tree service to pick up wood, They see that it's a honey hole and there's always lots of wood there. Some days, of course, there's not, but there's a lot of crap in the pile to begin with. Some days I get a little bit of good stuff out of there. Sometimes I get like a full load of really good stuff and very diverse as well. You know, they really helped out with my apple and cherry smoker wood inventory as well, you know. But so just getting into the bits of the earlier story with the Woodyard, or the tree service company. They used to be on the same street where my Woodyard is. They used literally just down the street, right? So I used to drive down the end of the street, drive to the yard and pick up wood, and I come there in the afternoon. Then, because of all the increasing rent and stuff here, the landlord told them, okay, you guys gotta pay more money. So the boss said, okay, no, we're gonna find another property. So now they're about maybe 6-7 minutes away from my shop now. My Woodyard is moved, it's in a different location, but the tree service company is still near my shop, right? So I can do my work around the shop, I can go down there and then pick up wood. So at the shop, there used to be a mechanic there who's been there for decades, and he shut his business down because, you know, he's been there a long time, he's getting older, right? And he's always been the fleet maintenance guy for the tree service company. Well, I didn't really like that guy because apparently he didn't want to work on my old Woodhauler because it was old, but he didn't tell me that. He just said he's always busy when I want to go get repairs done, right? I can't fit my old Woodhauler in the other shops in the area because a lot of them, it's a low ceiling or the door is low, right? That truck is high. It's probably about, I don't know, maybe 10.5 feet high or whatever, right? And around my shop, it's a lot of smaller buildings there's a lot of mechanic shops there, but there's not many shops that can take trucks, right? So he's never done any work for me on my vehicles before, right? So he just seems like, you know, he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder, but whatever. I esteem him as my neighbor. You know, I don't hold grudges against the guy. I just look at him like me and him have been on the same block for over a decade, so it is what it is, you know? So then when I start going by the tree service company, I see him, he's there, and okay, he's obviously working on their vehicles and equipment, whatever. I started to notice he's there regularly, and then what it looks like is he's now like the fleet maintenance guy, so he's there like all the time, right? So he would start complaining because I come there in the afternoon, and then the guys who are out doing the tree jobs, they come back in the afternoon, so he's like, gets all upset. You're blocking the wood, you're blocking the yard because all these trucks got to come back and you're in the way and stuff. And okay, some people might feel that way. I'll respect certain things, but he's not the boss, okay? And I don't know what makes him think that he's in the position to dictate what goes on in there. You know, I'm not saying he's dictating, but it's just, you know, like having that muscle or whatever or having that authority to tell me not to come into the yard, right? Like, I can respect his request. I'm not saying I can't respect it, right? But the thing is, it's like, okay, well, why does it even matter to him? You know? Because he's not really out there moving equipment much himself. It's just the other tree cutters who are coming back from their jobs and their employees, and, you know what I mean? If they have a problem, they can go to the boss and stuff. So I don't see how the mechanic, it's a problem for him. So he tells me, you got to come earlier in the day, you can't come in the afternoon, right? So because of that situation, he starts bringing this to the boss of the tree company, and then now the boss of the tree company starts looking at me sideways, right? So I've been going to this tree company for wood for at this point like 7-8 years, and then now all of a sudden the boss is looking at me funny, you know, and that's not right, you know. And I'm doing these guys a favor too. Now the thing too is about me coming and picking up wood there. Why am I looked at like some guy who is in the way? Am I not doing these guys a favor? There's vehicles that have to come into the yard for one purpose or another, not many at all. The only ones I can speak of is, I don't know if they have anybody else coming to pick up wood, but I've never seen anybody come to pick up wood. They have a truck to come in and they put a bunch of the wood into the bin. Like if their pile gets too big there, they'll just get a truck to come, they'll put the wood in the bin, and then they'll take the bin away and dump the wood somewhere, right? So the way I see it is, if I was the boss, I'd be like, okay, yeah, no problem, come, you're helping me out, you're saving me time and money, come and take the wood. If there's trucks coming in and out, then you work with that, right? You have a space there, you got people and their different timing and stuff. It is what it is, right? If I'm wrong about that, tell me, guys. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I don't want to respect when the guys say don't come in the afternoon, but it's like if I'm there and the other guys are there, can't we just work like, okay, well, if I gotta go, I gotta go. Or I'll move over here, you pull the trucks in, I can go back and I can pick up wood and I can leave, whatever, right? I'm malleable like that. I'm flexible like that, right? I look at it as people doing their business, I'm doing my business. You know, I don't look at them as like less important. You know what I mean? So, anyways, let's get back to the chat here. I'll continue the story. Lots of dump trucks on the marketplace in Vancouver area. Well, you're telling that to Uncle V. Yeah, well, that's both of you guys on the opposite side of the country, right? A road trip. Who is this Pachito? Who is this? I know who it is because that name was ringing a bell. Yeah, man. There's so many people who come through and comment and everything. I start getting mixed up. Users' names come into my head, and then they go away. You know, PA trapping outdoors. Wrecked what? Well, wrecked. Not as in wrecked as in some type of car accident. My scrapyard went to my Woodhauler went to the scrapyard. The end of its life, bye-bye. They came in, I'm going to put that in my next video. I took a couple video clips of my Woodhauler taking it to the scrapyard, guys. Just 2 short clips. And they have the claw with the magnet that came and picked up the truck off the ground. And I don't know, I've never known how much those things could lift, but those things could lift a lot of weight, guys, because that truck at that time was about 6,800 pounds. And maybe 7,000 pounds, and I just grabbed it and lifted it up. I had loosened all the nuts on the wheels, and I kept some of the wheels because they had good tires on them. And then the truck was still sitting on the remainder of the wheels, so the claw came and picked up the truck so I could take the rest of the wheels off and take them out of there, right? Uncle V says, I like driving, just not that much. My brother-in-law teaches on Dolphin Island, BC, near Prince Rupert. Yeah, guys, I like road trips, but you know what? I can't sit down in my vehicle for long periods of time. 3 hours now, that starts to bother me. If I know I'm doing a long trip, which I never do anyway, I could do longer than 3 hours without getting out. But yeah, that's if I have to do a drive like across the country, you know, say from here to BC or here to the East Coast. Yeah, that would be tough on me, man. You know, I'd have to have like a second driver, right? Just to take a little break every now and then, you know. I'm a soldier, like I could probably pull it off, but it's just, yeah, sitting in the seat, that's my only problem, man. But otherwise, mentally, I'm prepared for a long road trip. And I would like to do that, man. You know, it's to get to BC, it's gonna take like, if you really drive and you can really hack it out, it's gonna take about two days. Maybe 2.5 days. You obviously got to stay like a night, maybe 2 in a hotel. And yeah, I'd like to do the drive through Canada because I've done the drive to BC via through Detroit, and then through Chicago, and then I guess did we touch Wisconsin? But we went through North Dakota and South Dakota. One way we went through one of the Dakotas. Way back we went through the other. We went to the dances with wolves. This is when I was young with the family, right? With my parents and my sisters. We went through the dances with wolves filming location. We went to Mount Rushmore. Then through Montana. And then we stopped at this really nice town in Idaho. I think it was Boise or Boise, Idaho, whatever. And yeah, it was beautiful in that town. I can't remember what it was. And then I remember when we got into Washington State. Where's Daniel Atkins? I remember hearing that Washington State has a lot of police on the road. I even remember we were further down south in the state and we passed by Seattle, but that was like at nighttime, right? So we didn't see anything there, you know. But I want to do the drive through Canada, which is starting north from Toronto and going over top of Lake Huron and then over top of Lake Superior. I like to do that drive, and I like to do the East Coast drive too, whether it's Nova Scotia or even Newfoundland, and see out those ways, you know. I've been to both ends of the country, but I haven't seen too much, you know what I mean? Um, Let me see. Okay, yeah, you said what was wrong with the truck? Is this too old? PA Trapping Outdoors, and what was wrong with the truck? Just too old, man. You know, like this stuff rotting out with rust, electrical problems, work that piled up that needed the money to be spent, and it's like, okay, we're gonna spend a few hundred here, a few hundred there, or you're just gonna go buy another truck, right? I could even taken, like if I had found this a cabin chassis truck, I could have kept the dump box off of the old truck, but the dump box needed a lot of work on it too, right? Um, I could have maybe even cut the tailgate off of the dump box, but the tailgate needed work too, you know? So it's just all kinds of money that I had to spend, and I'm actually like happy with the condition of the other truck, of the new truck now. Like I said, it's got a hole in the floor that has been patched up, but it's in pretty good shape. There's not much wrong with the body. The rockers got a little bit issues. It is a salt truck, or it used to be a salt and plow truck, but it's not rusted out like that. When I bought the truck, the guy lifted up the dump box. You could see that it's all coated. The guy used the spray bed liner to coat the entire truck, inside the dump box, on the frame, everything. So it's been pretty well preserved. It's just the rocker is rusty on one side, and then the other side there's a bit of a crack in it, and I have to fix that crack. And then it's got like the Denali running boards on it, like the stainless steel ones, like the ones that are, they have like the big oval shape, and then they're long, and one is kind of loose there, and I'm just going to cut those off for some more weight reduction. And it has one of those big toolboxes on the side of the frame. I just took that thing off, so I'll try and maybe put it for sale. And it's actually got the 2 gas tanks in it, and just because I used to drive a 96 6.5 diesel back in the day with dual fuel tanks, I had an issue where one of the fuel tanks stopped sending fuel to the other to the engine. And I remember filling up, and I went on a couple drives. Both were out of town, but like very close to Toronto. And I said, "There's no way I can be running out of fuel." So there was a problem. There was something wrong with the truck, right? And I had passed by a gas station that day, and I could have went fill up. And it's like where I had the company card. There was a gas station that I could go to and fill up some diesel, but I didn't. I passed it. And then sure enough, not far away, I ran out of fuel, like just down the road from the thing. I was younger at the time, so I wasn't too diverse with the problem solving and all that stuff. And then it's a company vehicle, so it's like, okay, just get the boss to tow the truck. And those ones on the 94 and up to 2002, they had a lot of problems with those trucks. So that's when I really learned about, you know, these the I guess the 88 to 2002 GM trucks. That was like a learning experience for me when I was in that job, and I was doing courier work, right? Picking up skids and a lot from printing companies, and you know, all the advertisements for banks and different companies and stuff, all the printed advertising that are going you know, in the bus shelters and all these kind of things, all kinds of different packages stuff, but a lot of printing companies we used to do deliveries for, right? And because this truck has the 2 tanks, I still got to ask the guy if the second tank is sending fuel to the other, is sending fuel to the engine, right? I haven't filled it up yet. Usually I fill up the truck all the time, but I haven't been driving much, and I'm trying to put together money to start doing work on these trucks and fix them up, or on this truck, and get it in, get it ready for wood hauling, for scrap pickup and all that stuff, and get it spec'd out to the way I need it to be for the work that I do, you know. So I haven't tried to fill up that tank, but I'd like to actually fill up both tanks, and hopefully like everything works, and I can just fill and leave the and not have to worry about going to the fuel station, because I actually go in the evening when the fuel is cheap. And you know, if I'm at the Woodyard splitting wood, which is not really this time of year, you know, I don't want to, like, I'm finishing work early and I'm not at the Woodyard till like 9 o'clock, so I'm not able to go and fill up unless I leave from home. And the other places where I can fill up, it's only like 10 minutes from home, right? But it's like once I'm home, after working, I don't want to go back out just for fuel, but I would if I have to. You know what I mean? So what I might do with that tank is just cut the tank right out, and then I'll actually have, I don't know, do these Duramax engines, here's a question for you guys, do they have a fuel sending unit inside the tank? I looked at the tops of the tanks when the dump box is up, but I know the older trucks, they have like the lift pump, right? And I don't even know if they have like a pump inside the tank on my old truck, because I never had to replace it, right? You just have like a lift pump, which you can hear running. It sits underneath the driver's seat. And yeah, so that's a good question. Is there a fuel sending pump inside the tank with the diesel Duramax engines? That's a good question. Anybody who knows, let me know, right? Northwest PA Firewood says, I got an 86 C3500 dump truck with this. Yeah, you got the 6.2 in that one originally. It's got a newer 350 crate engine in it now. Nice. It's a 350, not a 305, aka 30 fried. Yeah, the two tanks should have a switch. Yeah, I know that too. I think what happened with the other truck was and once again, do the 90s trucks have a electronic fuel sender inside the tank, or is it just a lift pump on the outside? So, because when I had that problem when I was younger with that work truck, I think the problem was a switch, and I don't remember anything about the pump being inside the fuel tank. Uncle V says, as soon as I find a decent dump truck, I'll start selling firewood. Friends and family like my wood and want to buy it. Haha. Yeah, well, okay. I'll give you some advice for a wood hauler. You probably kind of know what you need anyway, but get yourself a dually if you're going to do big loads. I would imagine you're out there in the East Coast. I don't know, are you close to the city or are you outside of the city? Are you delivering big volumes of wood, or just smaller volumes of wood? Because if you're doing big volumes of wood, what I did with my wood hauler when I first got it, even before I got my last truck, I used to have a 2000 6-liter gas engine with a 8-foot box. It was like a contractor's truck. It was a white pickup truck, regular cab, long box. It was a 2500. It wasn't an HD model. And yeah, it had the flat black fender flares on it. It looked like a contractor's truck, right? And I had that from before for scrap, and I had a metal cage that went around the bed of the truck, and it was the height of the cab. And the only way you could stack a full cord in there was if you literally stacked each log, and I would go side to side and stack the whole truck right to the back. And I used to deliver wetwood up north, so it took me some time and some money to go up there with that load. And then I was selling the wood cheap, so I couldn't do it anymore, because that's when the price of everything started to increase in Canada in 2014, because it's 2013, excuse me, it's 2013 where I really started getting big into the firewood business. And I shouldn't say big, but I got into it more significantly, you could say. I took it on, right? Whereas I was just doing a little bit here and there before. So 2014 came around, it's like, okay, I can't really do this because it's costing too much, you know what I mean? And what year did I get the Woodyard? I think I got the Woodyard in 2014, right? And that changed it too, because I was doing the firewood at my shop before, so now I had another expense. So I also had my 2-wheel drive 1993 extended cab long box 6.5 diesel, and that was my first pickup truck that I got for work when I was doing scrap. And then I had made so much money on it, and I beat it up, and I said, okay, I'm done with this truck, I'll go get something else. And I sold it to my buddy, and then I bought a 5.7 liter, which I shouldn't have bought. The same setup, long box, um, extended cab, but it was just a 1500, and it was four-wheel drive, and the front suspension seemed like it was like the suspension overall in the truck seemed like it was stronger than my 2500 6.5 diesel, right? So that woke me up a bit to like being able to haul weight. So now we had the 2000 with the 6 liter, and it was a really sturdy truck. And I remember the first time I put 4,000 pounds of metal in it. I was at a house where there was an old Japanese logger who had died, and he was a hoarder. His wife died, and he just hauled everything into the house, and his whole garage was full of like metal stock for like welding and stuff. So plates, bars, sheets, everything like that. He just had stock everywhere in this garage. And there's one time I just filled it up with metal stock, and I had to go to the house and do a number of loads of garbage and metal. And one of the loads that I did was all just the metal stock, and there was 4,000 pounds. And I pulled onto the driveway. I was like, well, I was on the other side of town, so I was like, okay, well, am I going to be able to go on the highway with this load? The load was only inside the bed. It wasn't like up in, the cage and everything like that, right? It wasn't piled up. So I pulled onto the driveway. I stepped on the gas, and the truck just went, right? So I know I could haul a lot of weight with that, right? But in terms of with the firewood, it's like, okay, if I'm going to be hauling this distance, it's going to be costing me some money. And I started selling more of the dry wood inside the city. And then I said I need myself like a truck where I can fit more than a bush cord or a full cord without stacking it. So when I designed my truck, I actually said, now I did buy a two-wheel drive truck, which was the old Woodhauler that I had with the big dump box on it. And but mind you, I was going from a 2500 truck to a 3500 truck, and the truck did hold the weight pretty good. The coil springs were collapsed a bit, so the truck looked like it was lower. And later on down the road, I don't know, I guess maybe because I was getting the cheap ball joints, and the ball joints was broke. There's one time I had zero weight in the truck, and one of the ball joints broke, and so I had to get the ball joints repaired like 3 or 4 times because the ball joints snapped, right? So that's another problem with the truck that I did get sorted out, but eventually I put coil springs in it, and then the truck is more stronger in the front. But even still, I still had ball joint issues because I wasn't buying heavy duty ball joints, right? But even though the truck wasn't two-wheel drive, I put a lot of weight on that truck, and it held it for a very long time. It's just the truck got weaker over time, even with the coil springs in there. Still some issues with it, but I built the truck box to hold 2 full cords loose, so that's roughly 3 times the volume of what the pickup truck could hold before. So think about how much volume you want to sell and what type of box you need for your truck. And for weight, if you could find a truck with an aluminum truck box, that would be awesome. That would be a good help because that will save you some weight. In terms of trucks, people say about the 7.3. I've heard they're good motors, but I know like the Fords, they get a lot of problems, man. Those trucks, they get old, and then they're just money pits like crazy, man. There's the same young guy I was telling you who buys the Chevy trucks. He's in that for a reason, and he did have a dually. I'm not sure what motor he had in it. It was a Ford dually. And he said one of the sensors alone was like $1,800, right? And so eventually, like, he just pulled that truck off the road. He said it's not worth it. You know what I mean? And I don't know what would he be driving now, but this guy got a couple driving under the influence tickets, whatever, and so his license been kind of out of whack. You know what I mean? But I don't know what he drives now. But he's all into the Chevy trucks, and he sees that I have the Tahoe, and he's like, oh yeah, no, the 2014 and up is 2015 and up is the way to go to whatever, right? But I don't know. I think they just have more electrical things about those trucks, and they're not as good. I know even like some of the at least the pickups anyway, the Silverados and Sierras, they have ball joint issues. And the truck's a year and a half old, and they're not built as quality like they used to. But he's into buying the GM trucks, not the Ford trucks, right? I think the Ford trucks are good for work, but the thing is the reliability and the longevity. I think that's what the issue is with the Ford trucks. And then what I think overall is out of the big three, GM is the best. Um, Ford is comes in next, and then Dodge is last. And you know, some people say that if you have the Dodge with the Cummins, then it's good. But even the newer Cummins, or the latest Cummins engines aren't as good as the older ones and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but even all car companies, they're having problems with the trucks. And I'm originally a Toyota guy, and even the new Toyotas, they got problems and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, and then with the new Duramax GM trucks, they put the timing cover, the water pump, and something else in the back of the engine, which doesn't make any sense. And I remember seeing when they have, you know, when they have those videos where they have some guy talking about the new vehicle and stuff, or doing a review and stuff, and he says, oh yeah, well, you know, the water pump and everything is on the back of the motor. All you have to do is take the transmission out. Oh, that's it, right? What does it usually cost in labor to take the transmission out? A couple $100? No. You know? Of course, they make the newer vehicles where you can't work on them, right? They got problems, but yeah, apparently like the newer trucks, just lots of problems, guys. And then look with the 6.2 liter GM gas motors, they pulled them off the shelf because so many of them were blowing. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. I would never buy a new truck to begin with, and then these newer trucks, like big issue. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's talk about the tree service company. I didn't finish that story. Just to touch base on the things that I was talking about earlier about the tree service company, the history there. So we have the fleet maintenance guy who's basically caused the problem in the yard with me coming there, and made the boss look at me sideways because I would come in the afternoon. He tells me, don't come in the afternoon because that's when the guys are coming back from the tree jobs. And they got to park the trucks and the chippers and everything like that, right? So that was a bit of a story, and I did exploit it on YouTube. I don't know, like, you know, I'm not like an antagonistic person where I try to make this guy look bad and everything, you know, but just playing on the situation where you have some type of obstacle in your way, just like a movie or whatever, you know, there's an antagonist or whatever. I tried to bank on that a little bit, but not to really exploit the situation of him being the antagonist. You know what I mean? 'Cause like I said, I esteem the guy as one of my neighbors, right? So now there's this kind of tension there because the boss is looking at me funny because I go there. The boss is cool. He's never said nothing to me before, you know. And even after the problems I've had there, I've come like, there's been times where I come like, you know, mid-afternoon or, you know, lunchtime or whatever. I see the boss. He doesn't say anything to me. Well, fast forward now. So okay, so now here in Toronto, people are lost. Okay, people, their mind's not functioning. Okay, and people can't drive. You know, I tell my friends that the speed limit here on the highway is 100 kilometers an hour. It's now 70 kilometers an hour because Toronto is very busy with traffic. It's one of the busiest cities in the world for traffic. Out by the airport in the West End, we've got the busiest stretch of highway in North America, right? Even more busier than sections in California. But what happens here is, sure, there's some traffic in some spaces, not stop and go. Traffic's like rolling, but then the traffic will open up, and then people are still doing 70 kilometers an hour or 50 miles an hour on the highway, right? And you can see them, they're all spaced out, and everybody's still doing way below the speed limit. And of course, some, you know, that's illegal too. So people, they don't have any urgency. You know, it'll be like all these cars in these two lanes. This lane's empty. You know, you could be going 10 kilometers over the speed limit, and you're just flying by, zooming in and out of people, you know, without being really aggressive. And it's just like, you might have a load on. Or I might have a load on. I might have a trailer on. And I'm blowing past all these people. I'm not even going that fast, right? You get to the traffic lights, nobody's going because, I mean, some people look at their cell phone, yes. A lot of people, you get to the intersection, somebody's like, oh, I'm in the right lane, but I got to try and make a left. Or I'm in the left lane, I got to try and make a right. And all these people, they just get to the intersections and they don't know what they're doing, you know. And even when I'm leaving the Woodyard at night, it's 9 o'clock at night. It could be on a Sunday where there's even less traffic. I'm coming westbound on the 401 to head home, and somebody decides that they need to slow down to 10 kilometer or 40 kilometers an hour, 30 miles an hour, because they need to get over to the express. Why do you need the express lanes at 9 o'clock at night? Especially on a Sunday, right? It's like you want to cause people, you almost want to cause people to die because you think you need to go over to the express, because your brain can only register that express means automatically faster every time, anywhere, any place. You know, like, do you really need the express lanes in the middle of the night, right? Do you think there's all kinds of people out on the road who are just filling up the collector lanes with traffic so that you're going to lose 10 minutes off of your travel time, you know, or add 10 minutes to your travel time? But people have no brains. I see it so many times. I've seen people slam on their brakes and jam it over to get in the express lanes. And then you look ahead of them and there's like 4 cars for the next like 3-4 miles, right? So people, they just don't know what they're doing. I get frustrated out there, guys. My dad was a driving instructor, so I know how to drive. I have confidence on the road. I'm aware so that I know these circumstances where you're coming up to on the road, they have these parameters to them. These people have to merge, these people have to slow down, this is coming up, the lane ends, this and that. People here, they can't compute that they're driving in the right lane towards where people are entering the highway, and you'll see them slam on their brakes and slow down like 40 kilometers an hour because they see a bunch of cars coming on. They wouldn't just get over out of that lane and to begin with ahead of time to say, okay, people are going to be coming on the highway and they're going to be merging. I shouldn't be where they're trying to merge. They just slam on their brakes instead of jumping over. It's just all stuff like that where people just, they can't compute anything. You know what I mean? So I get frustrated out there, and I'm not antagonistic. I don't want to get in a war with people. I'm not rude with F you, middle finger, this and that. Yeah, some people have got, you know, a little bit of anger at me because they've done something really stupid, but I'm not looking for a fight. I'm not looking for, you know, ongoing communication with them. I just want to get to where I'm going, you know what I mean? So this is regarding the tree service situation. I'm just setting you guys up for that situation here. So one day I went to go get something at the mall close to the shop. And of course, it's only like 4 minutes to get there, but there's idiots all over the place. Somebody nearly crashed into me. Now I'm coming into the lot. I'm already incensed by what just happened. And then I see a truck pulling out in front of me. Now I had to come into the driveway off of the street. I moved up a little and I had to go right and then proceed. So I came around the corner and then I saw a vehicle start backing up as I'm coming towards it, right? So I beat my horn at him. I hold my hand on the horn. I said, what the hell are you doing, man? And then the guy pulls out and he's like, hey, relax, man. I know you, right? And I think it was the guy who is in the company that shares the same property as the tree company. I'm not 100% sure if it was that guy, but I think it was him. And then even one of the, like the truck, it was a quad cab, like work truck, Chevy, white with a truck cap on it or something. I'm pretty sure that's one of the trucks that's in the yard. So I think it was that guy. He's like, hey, chill out, I know you, man. Right? I was like, yeah, well, I didn't pay attention to the fact that he said he know me. I didn't think about trying to recognize him or whatever, but I'm pretty sure that was the guy. And I said, well, yeah, people doing this stuff all the time. And he also said, oh, you were accelerating when you were coming, after you made the corner, right? Well, if I'm turning, I'm not stepping on my gas when I'm going in the turn. Stepping on my gas. I'm just in a parking lot, so it's not like I'm accelerating up to high speed. But he's like, yeah, you accelerated when you came around, after you came around the corner. It's like, of course I'm accelerating. You know what I mean? So I just brushed it off like, yeah, whatever. Okay, so now fast forward, this was like maybe a month and a half after that at most. So I had a friend staying with me for a bit here, and his boss, he told us about this bar that he goes to. So we started going out to this bar, and there's a lot of interesting stories that's been going on at this bar. You know what I mean? Because it's like I don't go out anymore because everybody's older, nobody goes, and they have like music, dancing, and stuff like that. It's in Little Italy, which is they have a lot of bars, but a lot of them try to run like more of like a nightclub theme, and some of them look more like a nightclub. Whereas this place is just a place where you could walk front to back, and there's a bar on one side, there's some tables and chairs, and the rest of it's open, DJ booth at the front, and they play some really good music. So me and my friend, we started going there, and it was like, okay, Toronto's a place where like women are generally closed off towards men, especially in bars and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of socializing and stuff, but women are very walled off when it comes to men here. So I went there, and girls start, chatting, having conversations, stuff like that, being blatant and stuff. And then over time, there's been like some girls who are like coming up to me, and they have guys with them at the bar and stuff. You know what I mean? It was pretty interesting to see this kind of behavior. It's like, oh, hey, I'm getting out now, and meeting people and stuff like that, and it's something I haven't done in a while. You know what I mean? So it's nice to see like the other genders actually biting towards men instead of like, oh, another guy in here, it's a meat market, another guy trying to take me home tonight, blah blah blah, right? That's how girls think here, right? So one day I'm there, and I guess this girl had just walked into the bar, and she was in there with another dude or two other dudes or something like that, right? I know this because a couple guys walked past me and she walked with them. And when later on in the night, I saw her when she left, and she was outside with those guys, and they were walking off somewhere. And this is a place where you kind of bar hop too, right? It's not a place where you necessarily go if you stay inside. So what happened when she walked in, because I was not near the front door, but I was in there a bit. So I figured like they just walked in. It looked like they were scoping out the place. She came up to me and she put her hands on my arms like this. She says, I don't know what I should do with my husband. I think I should break up with my husband, right? So I'm like, oh, great. Here we got another case because, like I said, some of these girls are coming in there with guys and stuff, and then, they're coming and talking to me and stuff like that and hinting at me and this and that, you know what I mean? So I'm not messing with other people's girls and whatnot, and this girl comes up to me just out of the blue. Like, she just walked up to me, she looked at me, she put her hands on me. She said, I think I want to break up with my husband, right? So it's like, okay, well, how do I handle this now? So I said, well, hey, like, I'm a positive guy, right? I'm not an antagonist type of person. So I said, hey, well, maybe you should try and work it out. It's better if, you actually have something instead of, being single again. Try and sort that situation out and whatnot, right? So she saw that, like, I'm just a cool guy. I'm not like taking advantage because it's a girl coming up to me and then I'm taking advantage of situation stuff. I'm just talking to the girl, whatever. So then she's like, oh, what's your sign, right? I said, I'm a Gemini. So then I said, you know what famous Geminis are out there? And I said, Kanye West, Tupac Shakur, Biggie Smalls, and Donald Trump. And of course, as soon as I said Donald Trump, what did she do? No, get away, like that kind of vibe, you know what I mean? So she just got all upset and she walked off, right? So then later on, she came back that way, and I said, I stuck my neck out. I said, never let any one person have so much power over your thoughts, right? And she just shook her head and she walked away, and I just laughed about it, But this is how this is tying into the Woodyard now, okay, or the tree service company, right? Why am I getting notifications? My phone should be on Do Not Disturb. But anyways, that's my friend who was staying here for a bit. I'll see what he says later. But anyways, so the same weekend we went to the bar, I go to the tree service company now. Okay, let me just go through the chats for a second here, and I'll get back to my story. Northwest PA and Uncle V still talk about trucks. Uncle V says, oh, how I don't miss the big city traffic. Yeah, you know what, guys? I'm used to the traffic. I know how to get around and stuff. William Klein's in the house. Nice to see you, man. Yeah, I know how to get around. I know how to breeze around the traffic. But for me, guys, my life is like taking care of this and taking care of that and having to do this and having to do that. So now I don't really think about the traffic anymore. It's just another thing that I have to contend with, and I just do it. Okay, guys, I've become like a bit of a Superman because of running my own business and doing the firewood and stuff. And I'm a hardworking guy when I'm interested, but I'm kind of lackadaisical in a sense. But after working for myself almost 20 years, it's just like it is what it is, man. You know, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta stay at work till 4:30 in the morning. I can handle it. So traffic for me is nothing, and I know how to breeze through the traffic and whatnot, right? So I wonder if my friend's messaging me about if he's watching the live stream right now. Um, yeah, he is watching here. That's funny. Okay, so anyways, yeah, so yeah, the traffic's an issue, whatever. Um, I'm digressing here once again. Just going through the chats here. Uh, yeah, old trucks in Vancouver don't have any rust. What about, I think they use sand in Calgary too. I've been out there. I've been out there in the winter, but I can't remember going over that situation. Um, Uncle B says 401 far left lane, pedal to the metal. No, it's not like that, man. Everybody's slow there in the left lane. I go in the right lane, man. You know, one time when I was with my daughter's mother, because her family is, and she and her family is from like just outside of Toronto, in the west side, like Mississauga, Brampton, stuff like that. So one time we were going out there, and I was driving her car, and we got by the airport, because I'm 2/3 of the way from the west end towards the east end, right? So I'm in the east end of town, but not far east. And we got out to the airport, which is in Mississauga, just west of Toronto. It's right on the border of Toronto. And I got out to the airport. She's like, "How the hell did you get out here so fast?" And it's like, "Because I know where to go." You know what I mean? And yeah, so traffic, it's bad in the city because people they just slow, and they don't take the initiative to move. You know what I mean? But anyways, going back to my story. My story is almost finished here now, right? There's some speculation about what's going on here too, and I'm gonna get to the climax here with why I'm banned from the Woodyard, okay, or the tree service company. So I went to the bar. I see that girl who comes up to me and starts like talking to me about breaking up with her husband and this and that, blah blah blah, right? The next week, I go to the tree service company, and I see the employees there every now and then. I see one girl there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is that the girl who was at the bar the other day, right? So it was kind of like bewildering to me, you know, because it's such a funny story and everything, right? And then what are the chances that I see this girl here now? So I was like, no, it can't be her. It looks kind of like her, but it doesn't look like her. I don't know. So I was looking at her, and she's doing her thing, and then she noticed that I saw her, and then so I just go back to what I'm doing. I was looking again, and then she saw I was looking at her. I said, "How you doing?" Right? And I go back to what I'm doing. So I think I might have looked at her once more, and she saw me again, whatever. I can't remember if it was the third time or whatever. But anyways, when I went to leave now, I drove, and she was in front of me walking this way in front of the vehicle, and I looked at her just because now I had a close-up view because she was far before. So I looked at her, and I was like, no, that's not her. And I didn't say anything to her, and she just walked off. But she looked like she was feeling like uncomfortable, you know what I mean? And she was younger too, right? So here's the thing. Usually, like, you know, back in the day stuff, that story wasn't really a big story to her in her shoes, right? But here's the problem, guys. And, you know, like some of our viewers here, and, you know, we're, you know, like 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you know, everybody in the firewood world here, right? So we're from like a different generation, you know what I mean? But the problem now is when you're a man and you're around women, you have to think about the Me Too situation, okay? So before it was like, okay, well, you know, somebody's really bad and they're harassing women. It's like, you know, a big situation, and, you know, like it stands out from, you know, guys just being normal and approaching women out there and this and that, right? Well, what's happening now, and some of you people might not be aware of this, but what happens today is you could be a guy who just comes up to girl like, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. My name's such and such. Hey, would you like to chat and stuff? And girls are like, that's really creepy. And that guy was like, I felt intimidated by him and stuff like that. And some girls are they're on making these TikTok videos saying these guys are sexually harassing me, and then they're not entitled to my time, and why are they breaking these barriers and coming up to talk to me, who they don't have no right to, and they make me feel uncomfortable and this and that. So how I'm putting that together in this situation is, I don't know, maybe this girl thought that here's some guy, he's older, he's looking at me in this place, he's making me feel uncomfortable, I gotta go tell the boss about this. Okay, now I'm just speculating on this. I don't know, I don't think about these things. This is not the type of mindset that I have, but I'm just trying to consider all things here, because what happened not long after that was I pulled into the tree service one day, and there was the guy who I told you, I think it was, who I ran into at the mall when I beat my horn at him when he's backing onto the spot, right? It's funny because did the guy pull out that time? I think he did pull out, or because I looked at the traffic situation there, and the cars parked like this. I was driving in like this, but the guy, he was coming out like this or whatever. So I'm not sure exactly how the situation worked out that day and where he was, like how he was parked, how he's backing out. I can't remember exactly, whatever, right? But anyway, so it's that guy. I would see him when I drive into the yard because he works at the landscaping company, which has the building to the right, and that's in the driveway where you drive in. And then the tree company is at the back, and the building's like along the back, and then you have to drive in left to go into the tree service yard in the back, right? So every now and again, I see the guy, and he's standing outside, and he's working there. I've said hi to him before or whatever, and it's a funny thing because before this occasion, the last time I went to the tree service company, I drove in there and I said, hey, what's up? And this is after the incident in the mall. I said, hey, what's up? And he didn't really say anything to me, right? So anyways, I drove into the yard that day, and then I had the Tahoe and the U-Haul trailer, so I start to do my turnaround, because once I go in the gate, I have to do like a 180 turn, and then I have to back the trailer in, then come forward again once or twice, and then so I can back up the trailer and put it into the up by the wood pile, which is in the far corner in the back, right? So as I'm doing my backing up there and forward and back, I see it's the guy from the landscaping company, and he's standing inside the tree company, and he's on the phone, right? So as I stop now, I was just about to do the last, like, moving forward and then back the trailer in, and the guy comes up to me and he says, yeah, you gotta leave, man. You can't come in here. There's a speed limit here, and you gotta respect the place. And okay? So I'm like, why? Like, what's going on here? What do you mean I was speeding? Like, guys, if I showed you the layout of that place, you can't speed when you go in there, okay, to begin with. I mean, you could, but chances are you're not anyway. Now, with the Tahoe, it's got a lift kit in it, and I've got the heavy duty ball joints in it now because I've had problems with the ball joints wearing out. I've always, even before, with the ball joint issues, right? Even before that, I've been taking it easy when I go into and come out of driveways where you have, like, the driveway has a bit of a incline, and then it goes level to the street. Always careful turning in there. So you turn in off of the road, you go up the driveway a little bit, you go in. By the time you touch the gas a little, you're at the back now, and then I have to make like a big wide turn because there's a double gate there, and one gate's open, right? So I have to do like a wide turn so that I can go into the gate and almost drive alongside the building, because the one gate is closed and the building that's open that gate opens up, and the gates along the building, right? So it's a tight area, and I actually have to go slow too when I'm turning to go into the yard, right? So I'm like, how could I be speeding here? And it's like, what sign? I never noticed no sign, and I've been coming to this place. This is the new location. That's 4 years they've been there now, or whatever, maybe 5 years or something, right? But it's like, how could I even speed to begin with? So then he says, I guess he was on the phone with the boss of the tree company, right? And he says, what did he say? Yeah, you were speeding in here, and you got to learn to respect the yard, right? And then you see me took a pause, and then he says, and don't come back, and he says, don't come back anymore, right? So that's the boss telling him to tell me not to come back anymore. So this just went right over my head. It's like, what the hell is this, man? Where's all this coming from? This seems like there's like a bigger reaction than the whole speeding situation, right? So that's why that's why I think maybe that situation, it's either the situation that happened where I ran into that guy at the mall in the parking lot, maybe combined with the situation with this young employee, this female employee who was there. I'm not sure if that's a factor, but I can't guarantee anything here. But I think it's one or two of the situations, but mainly the one with the guy in the parking lot, right? So I'm just speculating at this point. I don't know what's the story, but I have been meaning to go back and talk to the guy at the tree company, but the boss, but I have been busy doing stuff, and he's not there all the time. The boss, he's not really on site that much. Sometimes he's in there sitting in the office, but sometimes he's taking care of some errands he's got to do, whatever. You could see him kicking around the lot, maybe he's on the phone or something, but excuse me, he's not there much, So he's a cool guy, right? Like I said, he's always been cool with me until the fleet maintenance guys made him start looking at me sideways. So I want to go talk to him and ask him, hey, is kicking me out of the yard related to this? Is it related to that? What's the story? I want to tell him, you know what, I think I know what it is, right? So cross my fingers, guys. I hope I can go back there, because that's a really good source of wood for me. The other tree cutter, the guy who calls me and I go to pick up wood from that place, he hasn't called me that much over the years, and he has other people that'll come and take the wood, and he does try and call me. He doesn't try and call the other people, but I just missed a load of red oak the other day. But he can get the diverse species kind of, but overall it's not as good as a link as the tree service company. I've gotten a lot of wood from the other company that calls me. That's the one with the Persian guy, right? They do get me a lot of wood, but that just depends if they call, right? They get a lot of jobs where they do a lot of wood, and I can go and get all that wood. The tree service company, a lot of times they don't have a lot of one species and stuff that gets cut down. And like the boss actually called me for a bunch of red maple this year or last year, and there was tons of it, right? And I said, no, I don't want that stuff because it's no good, you know what I mean? So they do get big jobs and big trees and everything, but a lot of times when I go there and I'm picking up, there might be, sometimes there's a truckload of stuff, sometimes there's 2 truckloads of stuff, but they usually have like a nice diverse like amount of wood there, you know what I mean? I can go there and pick up like 7, 8 different tree species at a time, right? So the volume is good at that place, the diversity of the wood species is good as well, and it's close by, so that's not really a good thing for me at all, guys. It's pretty bad, but there's still a lot of wood that I can get. Some will take looking for it more, like going to the tree service, going on Facebook Marketplace and seeing where the tree service is. They've done a job and they put some out on the curb, but the problem is the lack of communication that you can have with people. They don't get back to your message, and then let's say, okay, you figure this, they might even leave the address, and then you go over there and the wood's taken or something like that. It's just more involved, and it's not as easy to get wood as much as people are putting these ads on Marketplace for you to go get them. And then a lot of those ads that they put, they have all these like thin branches, and they'll be like, oh, free firewood, come and pick up, right? And it's basically just all the shrubbery that's left from the tips of the branches on the trees and stuff, right? And there's no actual like real firewood there. Say everything's under like 3-inch diameter, they have some crappy wood that's just been sitting in the backyard for like 7 years and it's half rotten. They got a few pieces of this. They maybe have like a small rotten cherry tree in their backyard, and they say, come pick up firewood. You look, oh yeah, it's cherry, but you can't even go and pick it up anyway because it's rotten, right? So remember, in the city of Toronto too, like it's a lot of these trees are being cut because they're rotten. They're not being cut because like new building is going into place, or like they're doing some forestry work, like like the tree jobs are out of the city and stuff. right? So you have some problematic trees, but it's a lot of rot stuff. So as much as there's a lot of wood here, there's a lot of crappy stuff that comes down. You know, there's a lot of box elder that grows in the alleys, and it just snakes all over the place and gets in the way. And you know, there's Siberian elms, right? There's quite a lot of those that get cut down here in the city too. But there is still a lot of good wood that gets cut down. There's a lot of oaks in the beaches area, and they are protected, so it's very hard to get a permit for those to get cut down. But they are starting to get old too, so they're going to be coming down a bit more in the future. And there's a lot of big trees in the beaches, right? So every now and then I'll get some white oak or red oak out of the beaches area, right? And that's not too far from the Woodyard as well. It's like within like 10-12 minutes I'm already in the beaches area, or at the top of the beaches. And then yeah, it's just the beaches area is relatively small overall. It's like a few city blocks, and like I said, it's close to the Woodyard, you know what I mean? And even about halfway towards the beaches, there's already some oaks in that area, right? So basically, like, the beaches is an area where you have the ground around here is somewhat level. There is like a river valley that kind of goes from east to west, and then heading south and west, that's where I would go towards the beaches. But then there's like an incline in the shoreline, so all those neighborhoods are like on an incline, and there's just oaks all over, like oaks like crazy in that area before it levels out, and then you get to like Woodbine Beach and stuff like that, right? So yeah, there's a lot of oaks very close to the shop, not the Woodyard, but that's even for the Woodyard, it's like 25 minutes from the beaches, and that's just along Kingston Road, which is like the main road that goes along Lake Ontario, and the beaches is on the shoreline, and the Woodyard is close to the shoreline, and that's at the east end of the city, right? So it's an easy route to get to the beaches from there if I did have to go and pick up some oak, you know what I mean? About my last video, I was gonna say there was something that happened in the last video that was relating to what I said a couple of minutes ago. Oh yeah, I went to another couple of tree companies that I used to go pick up wood from, and one said the Tree Doctors, they've changed their name to Stacy Tree Doctors, and they actually moved. They're just maybe 10 minutes away from the old location. And they have a better area, because before they had all their wood in this mud pit. There's all these giant trunks like all over the place, and they're all like covered in mud, so no good for cutting with the chainsaw, right? And they would load you up with a machine, and it's just really messy and dirty wood, you know. But now they have like a yard with like asphalt paving, so now dirt is not a problem. But they don't have like a big pile there, you know. At least last couple times I've been there, they don't have a big pile there. But I did run into a guy who's actually came to buy some stuff off of me at the shop, and when I pulled up there, he was loading up wood, and I looked, but I didn't see his face, but I didn't really look at him. I just went straight towards the pile to look, you know, what wood's in the pile. I was like, hey, what's up? And then as I'm loading now, he's like, oh, I know you, right? He's like, you're Anthony, right? I said, yeah, that's me, man. I said, oh yeah, I remember you too, right? So then he says, yeah, I met you over by your shop, and I came to buy some stuff off you. And I think this is the same guy who looks like a friend of mine, and I think this is about maybe 12 years ago where the guy came by my shop, right? I can't remember if it was him from like 12 years ago, or if it was another guy from like a few years, like just a couple of years ago or something, right? But he was there, and then I got some wood. I helped him out with some identification, and there was some big apple pieces that he wanted. He has like a fireplace or a wood stove or something, and he grew up with that kind of life, but now he lives in the city. He still burns wood. And I was showing him about the apple. Now normally I would take the apple, but it was like where the apple was just like a shell of a tree. Everything inside was rotten out. But I was like, yeah, if you want some really good wood, just take this stuff here. So I helped the guy load some stuff up in his van, and I got what I could, whatever. But that was in my last video. And I'm getting up to date with my videos. I have one more video to release, which is my day-to-day stuff. But I haven't even done my tree ID video, which I filmed on, I believe it was October 3rd, guys. Because, yeah, I want to get some more non-copyright music. That's another thing I want to talk about, using no copyright music on YouTube. Very frustrating, guys. I'll tell you that story in a second. But Anyways, I want to find some new music because maybe some of you guys have noticed the number of my recent videos. I'm not putting music in it, or maybe just a little. It's because I have the same music and it's getting, it's getting monotonous. It's getting repetitive and stuff, right? And I want to get some better tracks and stuff. And here's the problem with this no copyright business. Okay, so for those that don't know, when you're making YouTube videos, you go and find, whether it's on YouTube or some other program, you go and you find non-copyright music that's fair use, that you can go and use in your videos, and YouTube is not going to copyright strike it, and therefore you can get paid for your videos because your music is not mainstream or copyrighted music, right? You can use the copyrighted music in shorts videos. They don't have a problem with that. Shorts is not a big money maker unless you're getting millions and millions of views, right? But you have to go through the process of finding this music. Now there's some websites that you can sign up to. You pay a couple bucks and you have access to music. I've just been downloading off of YouTube for free, and there's a lot of generic stuff that's, it's universal stuff. I'm sure you guys know from watching YouTube you've heard some of the music commonly in different videos, or sometimes one type of music is trending on YouTube or whatever, right? But so I've been using some of that. There's lots of stuff out there that's not just the stuff that everybody uses, but there's lots of stuff that you can use. But so much of it just has this like dance, techno, kind of funny music and stuff like that, which is not good for like when you're making videos splitting firewood and stuff, you know what I mean? And then the big problem is when, okay, you've done this diligence to go find this non-copyright music, you make these videos, and okay, you upload it, no copyright flags or whatever, okay, you're fine. Now what happens 2-3 years down the road, you get a notification from YouTube, this video cannot be monetized. Why? Because this certain song that you put in the video from this part of the timeline to that part of the timeline, you cannot, or your video, you cannot make money on this video anymore because you have this music in that segment. Now, they'll give you the option to just mute that section, or take some of YouTube's small collection of music and you can put that music into the section there. But sometimes you're talking, or there's other people talking, or there's sounds that you have in there while there's music. It's like, say for example, I'm just splitting with the machine. You can hear the machine. I'm not talking. I got the headphones on. There's no other sound in there. So in that circumstance, if I found some music that I can put in there, I can put it in there, but I can't fade it out like how I want to, or fade the music in or whatever, or lower the volume, raise the volume, that kind of thing. I can't adjust the volume to fit in there. All I can do is just take a section of music and insert it into that section, and it has a hard cut in from the beginning, and it's a hard cut off at the end, so it doesn't sound right. Okay, so the first time this happened was with the main video on my channel, the official trailer of the channel, right, which is like an introductory video to this channel. So that video is what gets hit all the time, because all the new people coming to my page, they can see that video on the page and they would watch it, and I would make money from it, right? It's also a video that I have in the link for my advertising for my Firewood business, right? So when people go and look on my Kijiji ads, Kijiji is like our equivalent of Craigslist, right? And then I have it on my Facebook page too, but it's not something they're gonna see right away. I put it out a long time ago, so it's further down my list when you scroll down. So now that video, which is getting regular views, not a lot of views, but it's getting viewed all the time, I'm not making any money on it, right? So there's some income lost. Then there's other tracks that I've used in videos, and that track I've used in that same track, there's 2 tracks in the trailer video, and one of them is copyright. I've used it in other videos, and I see 2 or 3 other videos it's popped up where the video cannot be monetized anymore. Okay, whatever. That happened once with one song. It's in a couple different 2 or 3 videos. Okay, fine, no problem. Then next thing you know, another track, copyright strike. Okay? So I have that issue there again, right? The first the first problem I had with this, I liked one of the tracks, but I didn't use it much because it doesn't fit in with, you know, my day-to-day videos and stuff. So I hardly ever use that one. So it wasn't a big deal. Then I started getting copyright strikes because of with other songs, and I've used them in other videos as well. So okay, I get the one video that has that second song now that I'm having this problem with, and then next, you know, I get another notification, a second video with this song, and a third video with this song, and a fourth video with this song. These cannot be monetized, okay? And then it happens with another song, and then that song is in another few videos, okay? And then some of these songs are things that are really fitting for the videos, right? Like ones that have like a little quick beat that are good for like doing the time lapse and stuff, right? Like say when you know, I go and I'm doing my splitting, then I put the time lapse on, and the last, say 15 minutes of the video splitting, I'll have that at like 15 times speed. So I'm splitting really fast, I'm stacking wood really fast, and I'll put in these certain tracks that go really good with the time lapse and stuff, right? And it's like those are getting copyright strike. And then I have other options that I can put in there, but they're not as good as the ones that I've been using. So lately I've had a bunch of videos that I found. There was a track that I found like a year and a half ago, and I try not to use the same songs too many times or consecutively in videos, but I used it in a number of videos. So all those videos, not monetizable, right? So what I've actually done is gone through my list and actually deleted these videos. Now these videos, most of them aren't important because it's just everyday splitting in the Woodyard. It's not some special video, but where it has happened, and that reminds me of another song that's in my Tree ID series video, right? So I do my Tree ID video every year where I go up north and I find a new place to go and do Tree ID. And I used one track for the intro of that video, and then after I did that video, I went out later that fall, and then I did single tree species separate videos of different trees, and I did 4 videos. So the up north Tree ID video where I used that song in the intro, I made an intro with the 4 other videos for 4 different species of trees, and all of those are copyright strike. And I think maybe one got missed or something, so that one's still making money. But basically, there's a whole bunch of videos that are not getting paid for, right? And the day-to-day firewood splitting videos, the average video, they get views when they come out, and they don't really get views later, unless there's something specific about them that stands out, right? Like I have one video that's about dry honey locust, and those who know honey locust know it doesn't dry very well. Like, you know, when it's out there in the wild and it's been dead or whatever, right? They're usually full of water, those things, you know? And so I have a video about how I got some dry honey locust, and usually I don't get it dry. So that video gets not a lot of views, but it gets views on a regular basis. And otherwise, the day-to-day stuff doesn't get views. But my tree my Tree ID videos, they kind of get viewed in the spring and fall, right? I notice all of those videos in the whole series. I have about 10 videos in that series, and they all get watched, okay? So most of those aren't making money, okay? Now this is very frustrating if you're a creator who's made these videos to try and make money off of them, and then next thing you know, it's like this video, you can't make money. That video, you can't make money. Then you have 15, 20 different videos where they're not making money. Some of them get viewed regularly, some don't. But the best thing I could do so that I could actually make money is delete as much videos as I can. So I didn't delete the Tree ID videos because those are helpful and I like making those videos. They got some nice scenery in them and everything like that. So I haven't deleted any of those, right? Even the second Tree ID video, when I first started learning about editing and putting music in, I was trying to finish off the video by just doing some voiceover and talking about just summing up Tree ID in general, towards the end, and I took just some songs that I had in my music collection. I put it in. I said, whatever, it's not gonna make money. Who cares? And I had already known at that point that the Tree ID videos were not going to make that much money because they don't get a lot of views. Because I had done one previously, the first Tree ID video, and I didn't get much views off. So by the time I did the second video, I was like, yeah, whatever, man. You know, I just wanted to release it and to see how it would do anyway too. I had that enthusiasm to just try and finish it off and get it ready to release in the morning so that I could see how it is how well it does. So I could have waited another day, which I should have. You know, hindsight is 20/20. But yeah, that's like a problem, you know. So it's just been very frustrating with YouTube because it's so much work, and you know, to have them constantly telling you, okay, well, this video you can't make money with, that video you can't make money with. Very frustrating, guys. Okay. Oh, James Bainton is in the house. I saw you there. I'm just scrolling back up though. Let me go through the comments here. Okay, I see where you just came in there. Let me see, what did I miss here? I missed a bunch of chats. I saw the chat going up the screen. Northwest PA Firewood says GM went downhill after 2015, and that's why I love my 07 to 2014s. But even the second half of that generation, I started noticing problems with the truck. If I bought GM, I wouldn't buy nothing newer than 2008. See, exactly. So my Tahoe was a 2007. I probably wouldn't buy it newer than a 2010, because I remember a guy who had a 2012 1500 Silverado, and it was a year and a half, and he was complaining about it. Okay, just because an issue at that age, I would think. Okay, I saw some comments, but I missed some from earlier. Old trucks, we don't have rust. Yeah, okay, I saw these. I just missed some from earlier. Talking about the 407, yeah, if you want to get lighter traffic, you got to take the toll road. 407 is a highway that's just north of Toronto, and it runs from east to west. There is a main road called Highway 7, and that's why the toll road is called 407, because it's close to Highway 7. Highway 7 is a Trans-Canada highway, and it goes from one end of the country to the other. And it's in the two suburbs of Vaughan, and, well, Vaughan is like a region, right? Or kind of like a county. And then there's the city of Martin as well. So that's on the entire north edge of Toronto. So 407 runs across that way. And yeah, it's a toll road, and it extends west of there and east of there. What they did was a lot of the eastern section, they made it not a toll road anymore. And the 401, which is south of there, which is our route along Lake Ontario, basically, they the 407 up there it's closer to the 401 than the center of the city, where the 407 is further away from the 401, right? But they're finally starting to widen the highway, because it's only 3 lanes each way right now as you're going east from Toronto. You're going to other, like, mind you, smaller cities, right, narrower cities as well. But there's like basically 4 cities once you leave Toronto, you're going eastbound, and basically when you get into the first city, which is called Pickering, the express and collector merge, and then you have 3 lanes. So what they're doing now is they're breaking down some of the bridges, and they're widening everything, because they're going to put express and collector right through that section there, because we really need it, guys. Lake Ontario is like a natural boundary. So anybody who's traveling east and west, they're going along the 401. We don't have a highway that's north of the 401 that's going through, because north of the city, like this, north of the city, there's farmland. It's all country. There's no like big cities. Well, north of Toronto, there's Newmarket. That's a big city, right? It's not huge, but it's a city. But say east, you're in the east of Toronto. You're traveling east. There's nothing that goes east and west. There is Highway 7, like I said, the Trans-Canada, which is 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour, and some go through some small towns. but that's not a fast route. The 401 is what you want to use. And then even north of there, nobody's really north going east and west. There are people, and there is, shipping traffic and stuff like that. I'm not saying there's no traffic, but it's just most of the traffic is here down near Toronto and around the edge of Lake Ontario, the Greater Toronto area, the Greater Toronto Hamilton area. So Hamilton is at the western edge of Lake Ontario. So you curl around from Toronto to Hamilton, and then Hamilton curls around down to Niagara, and then you're at the border, right? So you have all this traffic just coming across this natural barrier, which is Lake Ontario, and they're finally making those eastern suburbs of Toronto, they're finally widening the highways there, right? It's after you get past those like 4 cities, then there's a couple of the small towns, and then you're just in like the woods basically. There are some neighborhoods and stuff like that, some commercial properties and stuff like that, little sparse small towns as you go east. And then there's another bigger small town called Port Hope, and another few minutes after that is Coburg, and then it's small towns after that until you get to Kingston, which is like a big city on the eastern edge of Lake Ontario by the St. Lawrence River. And then you go another couple hours after that, more small towns until you get to Montreal, a big city, and then you're on the St. Lawrence River, and then you're up to the ocean. So all this traffic coming from the east coast, and it's coming towards Toronto, it's coming along the 401 there, right? And then you have a lot of traffic that's trickling everything down from north of Lake Ontario, and it's either going east to go around Lake Ontario or go to the Kingston side into, what's out that way? Well, Oswego is the southern part of the east end of Lake Ontario, right? But that's getting into New York State. And so people who are, a certain ways east of Lake Ontario, or on the eastern side of Lake Ontario, if they're going to the U.S., they're going to cross the border on that side of the, on the eastern side of Lake Ontario, whereas people who are more over in southwest Ontario, going across Niagara Falls, they'll come from that way, or even if they're going west toward Windsor and Detroit, they're coming from north and going that way. And then even a lot of traffic coming from north is traffic that's going around the Great Lakes as well. So we have 3 Great Lakes, or 4 Great Lakes is kind of like a natural barrier for us, right? Let's go through the chats here. Yeah, probably a bunch of new immigrant drivers. Yeah, a lot of people, they don't know how to drive, man. Now we have here also, we have a lot of the Indians getting into the trucking business. They live in Brampton, which is north of the airport. Obviously the shipping, there's a lot of shipping involved with the airport, stuff like that, right? They have a lot of shipping container businesses and trucking like that, right? And then just regular tractor trailers moving skids worth of content, and getting it out into cargo planes and stuff like that. So you have a lot of problems with these Mickey Mouse trucking companies, and people paying for their truck license and paying for their fake truck safety certificates and all this stuff, and they're getting into all these crashes and causing big problems. Like in Colleen's province, they had where a whole it was a whole team, hockey team, on a bus for a hockey tournament, and what was it, like 18 people on the bus died or something like that, because one guy just drove through a stop sign, right? Smoked the bus, and we've had all these problems. But then I'm looking on YouTube, going through my shorts videos and other long form videos, and you're seeing so many of these issues with these Indian truck drivers from Ontario getting into accidents in the United States, right? So it's this huge problem, you know what I mean? And then I think even Trump changed the laws here to make sure that, or down there, to make sure that, we're not having problems with these truckers or something. Did anybody hear about that? Put it up on the screen or up on the chat for us. Going down to the chat, there's James Bainton chiming in here. Sorry to hear about your Woodhauler. Yeah, it's at the scrapyard now. It went out to the proverbial pumpkin patch. Uncle V says, found a new species in my log pile this year, striped maple. And the first time I saw a striped maple was I saw the leaves and had recognized the leaves from the pictures when I'm looking at tree ID. So I saw the leaves and I'm like, I know what tree this is because I've come across it. But to say that I've seen this tree in the wild and I can pick it out, I didn't know what type of tree it is. I didn't know. So obviously it looked like a maple leaf, right? And it's kind of triggering too because each of the lobes have a long piece on the end, like almost like a tassel. And the sugar maple has, on the two side lobes, they have like a little bit longer tip on them, and then the center one has a longer tip. But the striped maple has the 5 lobes, and it has the long piece on all 5 of the lobes, right? So it's like, this looks very familiar to me. It's reminding me of sugar maple, but it's not sugar maple. But it's also reminding me of something I've seen. I've seen this type of leaf before, but I couldn't pinpoint what it is. So I was actually up north and I was doing my tree ID video and I ran into the striped maple and I figured what it was. I think before I got out of there, I think I went and did some Google search while I was up there and I saw that it was striped maple. Let's see. Robert Smith is burning black locust dried for 2 years. Nice. And your uncle moved to Schaumburg, Ontario. That's at... Where's Schaumburg in it? That's Highway 88 and 427. I believe that's where that is. Yeah. It's not 89, because no, 89 is Innisfil Beach Road. And that's up by Thornton or Baxter or whatever. And I used to deliver wood up that way too. So yeah, Schaumburg is south of there though. But that's where I used to go get totes, guys. I used to go to Crown Rust Proofing. And Crown Rust Proofing, they do like rust proofing for vehicles, and they had like a distribution center for the rust proofing product. And I used to get these nasty totes and were covered in oil, right? Nasty. I used to get them for cheap, but they worked, you know what I mean? And they didn't rust because they had the oil on them, right? It was actually like a good link, you know? Yeah, Robert Blacksmith says the truckers have been hitting our overpasses, don't check height clearance. Yep, exactly. I just saw a video today. A guy showing an Indian guy in the United States with his truck went to go under a bridge. It's just a small bridge, very small in terms of width and height. And the guy went to go under the bridge, got his truck stuck under there. No trailer on it, just the truck itself, right? But big problem here, guys. I wonder if years ago, there was people who crashed into the Burlington Skyway. The Burlington Skyway is a big bridge that basically goes over the west end of Lake Ontario. There's, at the west end of Lake Ontario, there's some land where it almost meets, and then there's a water channel, and then there's a whole giant bay to the west, right? So see how I said all that traffic comes around from Toronto and it goes through Hamilton and goes to Niagara Falls? It's tons of traffic, guys. And then they have this bridge with a big steel arch frame going over the northbound traffic, right? Interesting historical story. The reason why they didn't build the arch on the southbound side was because they ran out of money. So they only built this arch. And like, this is a big bridge, guys. It's like 4 lanes each way. And yeah, it's got a nice view too. You can see the city of Hamilton. Hamilton's like kind of like Canada's Pittsburgh. It's a steel town, so you can see all the old steel factories. A lot of them are not in operation because, you know, they've killed the steel industries, right? Then you can see that western bay of Lake Ontario, and then you can see the vast expanse of Lake Ontario to the east, right? So it's a cool like viewing area. You know, it's where you start, where you're kind of heading east, southeast towards Hamilton, then you drop south and you're actually going south as you cross that bridge, right? And it was the civic holiday long weekend, and it was the Thursday before that long weekend, and we have like the Caribbean festival here, right? So my parents are from Trinidad in the Caribbean, and our black population in Toronto is mostly people that are like Caribbean origin, right? There are some African people here, but most of the black population here originates from the Caribbean, from Jamaica down to Trinidad, Cuba, a little bit of Cubans, not much actually. Yeah, a very small amount of Cubans, but a lot of people from Grenada, a lot of people from Guyana, which is actually in South America, but it's similar to Caribbean culture, right? And so that weekend's a big Caribbean festival, and you have a lot of people come up from the United States, you know, from New York State and whatnot, right? Especially, and they come across the border at Niagara Falls to come to Toronto for the festival. Well, somebody left their dump box up, and they drove and ran into the bridge, and that bridge was shut down for the entire holiday weekend. Now there is a route where you can go and you can cross that region underneath the Burlington Skyway Bridge, but the problem is it has the bridge for the Welland Canal, and actually no, that's not the, no, sorry, that's not the Welland Canal. The Welland Canal is further southeast from there. This is where they have some of the cargo ships going into the steel factory areas in Hamilton. So they have a bridge that lifts up, and sometimes that has to lift and the traffic has to wait, but it's a very slow route overall. So all this traffic, it just took people, like say you left from Niagara Falls and you had to come to Toronto, it's an hour and a half drive at most, but it was probably taking people like 3 hours to navigate that at least. You know what I mean? But somebody left their box up on their truck. It was like, I guess it was one of those ones, it's like not a dump truck, but it's got a dump box with a long, like it's like a long dump box, like maybe a 40-footer or something like that, and that's what hit the bridge. Now the thing is, if people leave that thing up, okay, they've caused a problem. But you know what the real problem is? It's the other people who are driving near this vehicle, and they see that the box is up, and they don't go and flag the guy down, okay? That's what I have a big problem with. Not just the driver who left it like that, and also too, there's a lot of room for people to pull up beside that guy and say, hey, your box is up. You know, it's, even if the guy got on the highway, the exit before, there's still like probably about a mile before that guy gets towards the Skyway Bridge. Even you have, like, you're going on a flat ground, you've got a little bit of distance there. Then as you go up the hill to go up the bridge, or as you start doing the incline up the bridge, the arch, the metal arch on the bridge is not till you get probably about half a mile up the bridge as well, right? So it's a busy route as well. There's plenty of drivers that could have been there to go and flash the guy, or flashlights at the guy, or drive up beside him and say, hey, your dump box is up, okay? And this is going back to what I'm telling you about how people in at least Toronto anyway, in Canada, these people are lost, man. They have no brain, okay? They have no situational awareness, you know what I mean? And it's really sickening, right? And me, I'm very adept with like being out on the road and observing things and seeing what's what, reacting to things and this and that. So it's quite a contrast to see all these people here. It's like people get to an all-way stop here and they don't know who's got to go, right? Or they just come into proximity of other cars and then they can't move because they won't move because they see other cars moving, right? They just can't think. You know, I've even seen where I go down the street and there's these cars, it's just like a small residential street, so there's not much room. You know, maybe there's room for cars passing either side, but all of a sudden 3 cars just kind of jam up, and then people just sit there and look at each other, and they don't do anything. You know what I mean? Nobody knows to figure out who's got to move first so that everybody else can move out of the way. And then you have all these cars coming from both directions, and they're all just piling up. It's just 3 people sitting in their cars, looking at each other, waiting for somebody to do something, right? So guys, people are seriously incompetent, man. James Bainton, how about you chime in on the drivers here in Toronto, man? Let's hear your stories. James Bainton lives like 5 minutes from the Woodyard, guys. And yeah, it's so bad here, man. You know, like, I have a more positive mind. I think people, they have more potential. It's not that I think people are right off and that they are totally incompetent. I think they're just not in touch with their competence and their awareness and everything. You know what I mean? It's like, so what happens when you have a crisis now, right? How are these people going to react, right? Here's a good example. What happened during COVID? Yeah, the whole world just got canceled. All the stores are closed. What did they stock up on? Groceries? No, mostly toilet paper. Toilet paper was the most sold out item in that whole time. Toilet paper, guys. It's an emergency and everything's closed. Oh, what do we need mostly? Toilet paper. Guys, we're so screwed, man. We're finished here. As soon as the shit hits the fan here, or the bombs drop, we're done, man. We're finished. It's over. Sorry, guys. Like I told you, I'm an optimist. I've said this tonight, but I've probably said this before, maybe in a live stream, talk about these things. But at least talking with other people, I'm an optimist, but I'm also a realist. Okay. So while I think that people have better potential to be more competent in all these things, they're only losing their skill because they don't use their brain anymore. And they have all these other like electronics and stuff doing things for people. It goes to the saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. Okay, it's like, say for example, you're Mike Tyson, you don't go in the ring for 10 years. You can't just step in the ring, right? It doesn't matter if you're a pro and you knock out how many people. You're not training for 10 years. You're going to fall off the ball and you can't jump in the ring. Okay, and that's what's happening to society in general, but it just seems like in Canada here, it is everybody's like, in Toronto at least, in the big cities, people's brains, they're just gone, man. Lost. Let's go back to the chats here. I'm not going on much longer here. I don't know. We'll see if we knock out half an hour at most, but I'm thinking maybe even less than that. We'll see. If you guys keep me going with the chats, then I'll keep going. But I'm gonna have to refill with water in a bit. I didn't really want to get into the beers. I'm not really a drinker at all, guys. I drink when there's an occasion, and I wouldn't necessarily like to have a few beers here in a situation like this, unless I got egged on, and yeah, my mind's always thinking, so when I drink, it's like my mind stops doing that thinking and analyzing and stuff like that, so I get thrown off my game, you know what I mean? You see in the spring when I go to get my boat ready for the season, I'm like, yeah, it's time to get the boat out, time to, clean it up, get the vacuum out, wash the windows, put the batteries in, make the checks, check that the bilge pump is working. Like, yeah, I'll go and have like 3 beers, right? Yeah, I'm into the second beer and then the third beer, and it's like I start getting a little woozy, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing here anymore, because I'm trying to concentrate, especially these days, because I don't have much time. I'm like rushing to do all this stuff. You know what I mean? I might have finished my work and got the boat, picked up the boat at the Woodyard, brought it to the shop at 3 o'clock. I want to try and take it out, say at like 6 o'clock, so I could just take it out for a little test. I got 3 hours to work on it instead of like a whole day or half a day, like back in the day when I used to have more time. And I'm like rushing, so my mind's in focus mode, and it's like, okay, I get into my second beer, and I'm like, I can't even like think straight now, and I can still do what I'm doing, but I'm just throwing off my game here. You know what I mean? Uncle V says, I used to go to the beach by that bridge where I lived in Hamilton. Well, I hope you didn't go in the water, man. I mean, maybe on the east side of the bridge there, the water is cleaner. But I'll tell you what, I went to, you probably know where Bayfront Park is. And so basically that section of Western Lake Ontario, it's along the same shoreline as those steel plants and stuff like that, right? And I have a friend out there, and I brought my boat down there, and I took her out on the boat, right? So when I got there, oops. So the phone was kind of hot, but you know what I did this time, guys? Because you know why my phone was canceling out on the live streams before? It's because the phone was getting too hot, man. But now I don't have the cover on the phone. So it's not going to be an issue here, but the phone does feel warm. I gotta prop something up under here so that the phone doesn't fall again. Sorry, my hand's in the way here. But anyways, so I went to take my friend out on the boat. She wanted to go out. So one more thing off the bottle cap. That's gonna help prop this thing up here. No, too tall. So we launched in Bayfront Park, and it's a little bit of a natural park. You know, they got trees and grass and everywhere. They have like a big loop you can walk around, and you're in like kind of the corner area. And there's like a marshalling yard beside it for the trains, stuff like that. They have a boat launch, and guys are out there fishing too, right? So we went down there, and when I got there, what it is a driveway that comes down a hill down the side, but it's actually on like a cliff face kind of, and they put this concrete building into the hill, and they make it look like a part of a ship. And there's like a little patio at the top where you can have like a picnic, and they have like tables on top, and then at the bottom is like a public washroom. And I saw a guy there, and he pulled his boat out of the water. He's up there, and there's a hose out there, and the guy's washing down his boat. Now I had been back there, what, I guess not this year, but the year before. It was very sad because the place looked like more decrepit than back in when I first went there. When I first went there, that was, I think, 2020, because my boat broke down there. And that's when it stopped firing on all four cylinders. When you get up to speed, it's a 2+2 4-cylinder, so it means it runs on 2 cylinders when you start going, and then when you put more throttle, it starts firing the 4 cylinders. So when I was packing up that day, when I took my friend out, the cylinders weren't firing anymore, the other two, right? I didn't know what the problem was. But anyways, I had come back there a couple of years later, and it's very decrepit, and a lot more homeless people. We got a big homeless problem in Toronto and Hamilton especially, because Hamilton used to have some money there because it's like the steel town, right? But because the steel industry has died, it's just lots of druggies now and everything, right? And the reason why I'm talking about this going back there is because they didn't have the hose there where the guy was washing off his boat. And I guess they probably took away the hose because all the homeless people were probably like using the hose to wash and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's right beside the public washroom as well. But anyways, so the first time I went there, I saw the guy. He's hosing off his boat. I said, "Why are you doing that for?" Right? I said, "Oh no," I said, "That's that's nice. You have a hose to, like, you know, rinse off your boat or whatever. Why would you even need to rinse off your boat anyway? It's just been in the freshwater lake, right?" He says, "Because of all the gunk out there on the water, right?" So I can't remember if I noticed that. I guess maybe I did notice that, you know, the discoloration on his boat. But then anyway, so I put my boat in. I came out at the end of the day, and then I was like, I could just see when I pulled the boat out, there's like a gray film on the side of the boat, right? So I went to wash it off, and it wouldn't spray off with the hose either, right? It's just cold water, it's not hot water, but the stuff wouldn't come off, and I actually used my hand to like wipe it off. And now that I think about it, I wish I had like a glove so I didn't touch that stuff, right? It was just like grayish, like gunky stuff in there, like nasty, you know? So that should be like an environmental thing, like big time, because it's like people associate like water that doesn't look clear to be dirty water, but that's not the case, right? Water clarity has nothing to do with pollution, and if water clarity is affected by pollution, then that means the pollution is so bad that it's not just on like a micro level, it's like so much so that it's actually infiltrating the water visibility, right? So it's like, say for example, if you have a glass of water and there's some germs in there, it's like, you know, or bacteria or whatever, you know, there's a little bit of dirt, it might sink to the bottom, you can't see it. But if you really polluted it with something, you know, say like you put some, not that food coloring is or food dye is pollution or whatever, but if you sprayed some in there, you could see the discoloration, and there would be enough that it can change the water clarity like that, right? So you would think that if the water has that kind of problem down there, it's like a big environmental red flag, you know, and this would be something that's known and talked about and stuff, right? But yeah, the Great Lakes water is clear, so you're not going to see any discoloration. You know what I mean? The zebra mussels and quagga mussels and stuff, they eat all the green matter in the water column. That's why the water is clear, right? So people think, oh, well, oh, Lake Ontario, all the Great Lakes are polluted, and the water is not clear. And you tell them it's clear, and they don't understand it, right? But yeah, that was nasty. I said, I'm not bringing my boat down there again. What's going on with my chat window here? It's like small again. I can only see. I don't know why it shrinks. Okay, James Bainton has chimed in. Yeah, Robert Blacksmith says lack of training for the truck drivers company's fault. Yep, it starts with them. And then these guys, a lot of them, you'll see these truck drivers are 26 years old. They got no experience, man. James Bainton, just like I knew he was going to say, drivers in the city are awful. And that's with a capital, no, he spelled awful with capital letters. Especially when pulling a dump trailer through some of the narrow roads. Yep. Keep your distance, stay back, give yourself space. I remember even 20 something years ago, I was driving down a street downtown. It was actually a pretty narrow street. There was no room there's cars parked on either side. There was no room for like 2 vehicles to park. And downtown, of course, has some of the more like uppity people, this and that, right? And the trendies and, the liberals and stuff like that and whatever. And it's like some lady had a Mini and she was parked along the side of the street, right? She wanted to come out from parking on the side of the road to start driving down the street. Well, I'm already pacing down the street. It had a little bit of a curve. It's just a small area in general, right? So I wasn't far from her. I was close to her, and I was already in motion going down the street. The lady pulls out from the parking space, pulls out into the middle of the street now. There's no room for me to pass because, like I said, there's no room for 2 vehicles to pass. There was something like that or whatever. I'm trying to think exactly what was the situation there. Like, we should have been able to pass because typically, like, even with these downtown streets, like a lot of them, you could still, one person's going one way, one person's going the other way, right? But in that situation, at least I remember, there wasn't room for me to pass when she pulled out. So what she did, she pulled out, she stopped, she's looking at me like as if I'm supposed to move. So I opened the door, I stuck my head up above the window, and I said, yeah, I was driving down the street, you were parked on the side of the road, and you pulled out in front of me, and now you're expecting me to move? No, you back into your spot. Okay? And she didn't say anything to me, and she did back into her spot. It's at least some people, they actually know they're doing something wrong, they will correct themselves. But most people, they don't care, like, and people are just getting so uncouth now, like I was in the grocery store today, some lady walks right in front of me, so I stopped. I didn't say anything to her. She doesn't say anything to me. She can see I'm the one who's in motion. She kind of turned to start walking and walked straight into me. And she doesn't say anything. When I look at her like, okay, you're going to say sorry now, right? She didn't even say sorry. She just turned away and walked away. And you see all these people doing stuff like this. People have no common courtesy. Costco, very big, busy store, whether it's Canada or US. You start walking out the door. The main door is where the exit is, where everybody's coming out with their shopping carts. They got 2 lines of people checking checking your receipt. So all kinds of people flooding out the door. Some guy stops in the middle of the doorway to try and fix his scarf on his neck. Like right in the middle of the doorway. You know what I mean? Yes, go into the grocery store. You have some, like the one by me, it has the little, it has the stainless steel bar where you push open and it swings back, right? You go to walk in the store, they walk through that, now they're in the store, but they're still literally right at the, like the front section is like, is there? Yeah, there is a double door there. So there's one door you walk in, and then it has the little barrier thing, and then it has the other door. So they come in the first door, they go past the little barrier thing, now they're like 6 inches into the store now, and they stop there right in front of the door and start trying to figure out to do stuff. It's like you just stopped in front of the door of the grocery store to try and figure out what you're gonna do. Guys, people are lost, man. Lost. If you ever come to Toronto, just hopefully you're in and out, you get to enjoy some stuff. It's kind of expensive, but hopefully you don't run into these idiots, man. Robert Blacksmith says, good night. Been up at 3 a.m., start work at 4 a.m. Okay, thanks for coming out, man. Have a good night. And we've got 7 people left in here. And 6 people now. There goes Robert, I guess. I don't know. Anything else? Anything else anybody want to talk about? Uncle V says, chug, chug, chug. Was that in reference to me drinking or what? Yeah, I like my gin and tonics and my Heineken, guys. That's it, man. I don't like anything else. I'll drink Corona, but it's light. You know, if there's times where, okay, I'm going out somewhere and don't have time to sit around and have a couple drinks first, then I'll just walk with a little flask and beat down some whiskey if I have. I usually have like a bottle of whiskey here, but I don't have any now. And that's for like if I make some Baileys, or if, actually, you know what, I haven't done in a long time? Mix some whiskey into the chicken when I make some barbecue chicken, like smoky barbecue chicken. Yeah, I forgot about that. I gotta put the whiskey in there. Yeah, but sometimes I just make my own Baileys, and it's only 7 ingredients in the blender. And well, it should be 8 because I guess you gotta add some extra sugar because that Baileys is really sweet, you know. Actually, you know what I have? I have something that's like Bailey's. It's kind of like eggnog too, and it's a Trinidadian Christmas drink. It's called Pancha Creme, which is like it's au creme is French, right? So or of cream. That's what it means. Punch of cream, right? And so it's like spiked eggnog, and I guess yeah, there's rum in it, right? But my mom makes it every year for Christmas. There's a number of Christmas drinks that they make in Trinidad. One of them is called sorrel, and it's like it's almost like it tastes like a fruit juice, but it's kind of tart, and you put a lot of sugar in it, and you put some ginger in it. And do they put cloves in that one? Maybe just a little bit of clove, right? But it's very good, guys. It's very sweet. It's got this nice bold flavor to it. And of course the kids love it too, because even though it's like tart, it's sweet. Like my daughter loves that stuff, you know what I mean? And I tried to trick her the other day too, like just before Christmas. So my daughter doesn't eat a lot of food. She's kind of picky. So I try to get her to eat stuff, and I tell her, listen, you don't have to like everything, but at least just try it, okay? So I bought like the beets in the jar, right? And then it has a leftover juice from the beets. I guess it's mixed with vinegar and whatnot to preserve it. But I said I'm going to trick her, and I'm going to add some extra sugar and just a splash of ginger in here. I'm going to put it in the fridge, and because she comes by my place and she's like, she wants something to drink. I might make food for her too, but she wants something to drink. So I have like a green drink that's like made with, I know there's mango in it, but there's some like green vegetables that are like not really though, but there's like lemongrass, and it's good stuff in there, right? And she likes that one because you know it's got a lot of mango flavor in it. And then she liked the sorrel, so it's Christmas time, so I said okay, I'll give her this beet juice. So she went and drank it. I should have said nothing after she drank it, but I thought she might like it, and then she just keep drinking it. But I told her, oh, look, you just had a drink of the beet juice, and you thought it was a sorrel, right? She said, I knew there was something funny here, right? And she didn't drink it anymore. But I tried to get her to eat the beet, or to drink the beet juice, because at least to get her started on the beets, because beets are really healthy for you, you know what I mean? So, yeah, maybe I should have a little punch of creme. You just put a little bit of ice, and then you just kind of sip it. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe I will. I'll be back in 1 second. Yeah, here it is. Homemade. My sister, she bottles this stuff up and sells it, makes a little extra money during Christmas, you know? Chill and shake well before serving. Yeah, this stuff is spiked, guys. I just have a little bit in a glass. Like half a glass. I put in ice cubes, I'll water it down a bit. It's basically like spiked eggnog. That's essentially what it is. But yeah, I just have like, I'll show you how much I put out here. And I start feeling a little buzz, you know? I hardly drink, but I do have a tolerance for alcohol. And yeah, this stuff gets me buzzed a little bit, you know what I mean? I don't know, maybe the concoction helps it metabolize a little better. Usually when I drink, I try to drink on like a full stomach because I start to get hungry when I'm drinking. So I make sure I eat before I'm drinking. That's all you need, just a little taste, you know what I mean? Smooth and a little bit crisp with the rum in it, you know. Cheers, spiked eggnog, Caribbean style. And that's a little bit thick too, so it's nice when the ice melts just a little bit. The Uncle B's gonna call it a night, yeah, because it's now in Nova Scotia. It's 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock here in Toronto. Okay, good night, man. Well, I guess I'm going to sign off, guys. Anybody else got anything to say? There's only 4 people left in here. It's been 3 hours on the dot. 3 hours and 1 minute, not 4 hours like before. Yeah, I guess I'll call it a night, man. Yeah, I don't do the live streams that much anymore. They don't pay very well. I mean, YouTube just in general. I don't get much for my videos to begin with. But yeah, the live stream, I just like sitting and connecting with people. You know what I mean? It's not a money thing here, right? So, but in terms of videos, yeah, I got one more video to release. And I'll start working on that tree ID video and get that out. I haven't even looked over the footage. I have to start going through it. I have my other video. I have it edited, but I just have to add the 2 clips of the Woodhauler getting picked up and crushed by the well, not full crushing, but they just kind of clawed the thing and lifted it up. I have to put that clip of the video inside my next video that's going to come out, and then I'll work on the tree ID video. But I do actually have some other video that I filmed recently. I did a couple deliveries and sold basically the last of the wood I have. I sold the last. I pulled some hardwood out of some totes that I had, like the bottom rows. Some really dry wood in the bottom where there's 3 totes stacked high. I had a little bit of hardwood sitting here and there, some inside my container, and some oak logs that I thought I was gonna have to turn into smoker wood. I put that together for a customer and sold them almost a face cord. And then some lady came on my shop one day, looked me up on Google, came on my shop and said she wanted some softwood up in Markham, a Chinese lady. So I went up there and delivered, and I was like, this is a brand new house. There's no fireplace here. What does this lady need this firewood for? So I don't know, maybe in the backyard, or maybe she takes it somewhere to burn. Now it's obviously winter, so it's like, okay, she's just having backyard fires with it. And then she said she's gonna take it to her friend's house, and she thought she was gonna put, I guess, how much was it? It wasn't quite a full face cord, but she thought she's gonna fit it in her Honda CRV. It's like, no way, lady, it's not gonna fit in there, you know? So that was good. Some extra sales, almost $400 worth of firewood within a few days. In a situation where not even a few days, it's like a couple days, where I thought I was essentially out of firewood, but I managed to scrape something together, and you know. But for next year, I got a lot of wood in the Woodyard, but the problem is the phone doesn't ring in the fall. Sorry, the phone doesn't ring in for the fall sales season, right? Yeah, it's just slow here because people, they don't need firewood for heat here. They just burn it for fun. And yeah, it's just like, to go out and spend 220 bucks on a face cord here for a little fun. It's people are looking at it like, no, I'm not going to put my money there. I'm going to put it to something that's more sensible instead of just enjoyment. So I don't know. I might have to try and pump the firewood out better next year, but I have a tree cutter who knows about advertising with AI and all that stuff now, so he's going to help me out, and hopefully I can get some more advertising for my business in general. I'm trying to get him to do advertising for my scrap metal and my junk removal business, because that's easier money. I'd rather do that more than firewood, but I could incorporate firewood into the situation as well, and just add it as to my advertising in general, as multifaceted business. And I probably will need it because, like I said, the phone doesn't ring in the fall anymore. Years ago, the phone used to ring all the time, and there's one year I had like 100 totes full of firewood to sell, and I sold all of it, and most of it went in the fall, right? So now I only have like, these days I'll have like maybe 30 totes full, and then it's like I don't sell all of it, right? And every year I might have, going into like late November, December, I might have like 6 people call me, maybe more. They want some firewood, and I'm like, no, sorry, I'm sold out or whatever, right? I guess the same thing has happened this year, and there's even some customers that I didn't call back, unfortunately, guys. And some people called me early. I wasn't I wasn't quite in the mindset of selling the firewood yet. I was still kind of in summer mode in late summer season. But I did sell a bunch of wood in the summer. People called me up, and it's like, okay, I can do it. I'm going up to the Woodyard to split wood, in the evenings in the summer. Okay, yeah, I guess I can go up there and load it up while I'm there. So I did sell a lot of wood this summer. That was for people in the fall. But that's maybe, I guess, people who, they know that I sell out in the fall, so they call me early. I tell people to call me in like September, October, and maybe some of those people are like, oh no, I'll call this guy in like, was it July or just August alone that they called me, right? But yeah, I sold a lot of wood in the summer this year, or last year. But there were some people who called me for like a full cord and whatnot, and I didn't even bother with them because, and that's not good. It's not good to do as a business person, but because I don't have much wood, or I didn't have much wood for this season, I didn't want to sell people a full cord, because I have, like, with the small amount of wood that I have or had, it's like, well, what happens when, because there's some people who call me every year, right? Maybe every other year, but it's like those people have kind of started to accumulate outside of the random people who call me, right? Every year I'll get like maybe 1 or 2 new customers, but there's a lot of people I expect to call me, and then there's even some people I expect to call and they don't call, right? Like the guy from the Heavy Rescue 401 TV show, he's kind of been off and on, but at the same time, like, he's like, the one year he said, oh yeah, me and my son were just connecting, we're just burning wood in the basement, and he's studying down there for school, and we burned a lot of wood. And he called me, he's like, I need another big load of wood, right? There's another year he called me for a second load of wood, and he ran out and he bought some wood out for somebody else, and he got scammed, right? That's how it goes here, guys. A lot of scammers, man, and a lot of people, they don't know what they're doing when they're selling the wood, right? But even just the other day, a customer called me and said, oh yeah, I bought a bunch of wood that was crap the other day because I couldn't get it from you. And it's just commonplace here, man, and some people, they're unwillingly ignorant. They just, oh, the wood just needs a couple months to dry, we'll just sell it, right? There's all kind of stuff like that, but yeah, the Heavy Rescue 401 guy, he didn't call me this year, so I don't know, maybe he's busy at work, because he works for Abrams Towing, and now they're on contract. That company's on contract from the city of Toronto, because what they're doing is a lot of the major highways, and they keep expanding the coverage, but you have to go to the city of Toronto to get towed on the major highways, right? You can't just call up your buddy to get picked up on the highway, and you can't just have random tow trucks showing up to take you off the highway, because it's like this. You've had tow truck wars here in Toronto because you have these new immigrant people setting up tow truck companies, and then there's big wars there's like big turf wars. So all these trucks have been getting lit on fire, guys. Okay, and they caught a bunch of people too. But even down the street from my shop, there's a tow truck company has like a lot there, and there's 3 burnt out tow trucks that have just been sitting there, right? I don't know what's their story, which company they're from, if they're from that company. I don't think so, because of the different coloring on the vehicles and stuff. But there's 3 burnt out tow trucks right there, and there's like a big thing with these tow trucks constantly getting lit on fire, right? At people's houses in their driveway, you know? But I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, about the tow truck operator. So his company is contracted out. So now I can't call him for a tow when I need a tow. And he had another buddy who works for the company, and he has a flatbed, so that's good for my Woodhauler, right? And my customer, he would tow the Woodhauler, but only if it's like a close distance, because his truck isn't rated to tow my truck, right? And he's helped me a couple times, like when it's in the area and stuff like that, but he can't do it anymore because all their calls are contracted out to the city of Toronto, and they're all GPS monitored and everything, right? So I can't call those guys up. And then one time my Woodhauler, I had electrical circuit cut out on somewhere in the engine bay, and I lost all electrical power. No dash light, no key, no nothing. And I got picked up from the flatbed driver, and I had to give him $600 to pay for the tow. Meanwhile, he would have probably charged me like $300 to bring it back from where I was. You know what I mean? So that's a bit frustrating now, you know. But I was thinking, if there is somebody I need to call me who's on the streets and not on the highway, who has a flatbed. The guys who are in my Woodyard now beside me, they have a tow company and they have a flatbed, so I could call those guys up if I need somebody to pick me up within the city. You know what I mean? But 2026 sales, let's talk about that a little more. I'll have to advertise to get the wood that I have sold. I wanted to fill the Woodyard this year, but just lots of stuff in the way, lots of things to do where I couldn't get the wood even. I wanted to like basically batten down the hatches for the winter at the Woodyard, and I couldn't even do that this year. I wanted to move some wood because I don't have a section designated for the wood that I split later on this year. That's going to be for 2027 season going into 2028. So I wanted to take some wood that's in one section and move it over to the other section, so that I do have an empty section there, right? So yeah, I'm gonna have to do that in the spring, I guess. But hopefully I get a warm period where I can move all that wood. I probably have to move about 2 cords of wood. Maybe a touch more, because I have a row that I started. It's about 8.5 feet wide. It's about 4.5 feet tall. Then I have another row that's about half that, another row that's about the same as that, relatively. So that is probably over 2 face cords. Then I have 6 crates of loose wood. Yeah, that's about 2 full cords, maybe 2 cords and a bit. I wasn't planning on moving the wood in the 6 crates, because that's 2 crates, 2 crates, and 2 crates in a row, and that's separating my wood on skids on this side, and then I have wood on skids on this side. So I want to take all the wood on this side to 3 rows, and then add them to the skids, the rows on this side. And then further off, I have a whole line of totes there. So the totes in the middle of the skids, I want to take the corrugated sheeting and then put it over top the 2 sets of IBC totes, And then so all that wood that is on the skids on the right side, I have all that covered for the winter. That's what I wanted to do originally with everything there, and I wanted to fill that whole area so that I have no more room for any wood once I start splitting this year, right? But I wasn't able to get enough wood, and I wasn't able to process enough wood so that I could fill the wood yard. But that was a goal that I really had, and I was really working towards that. And then I just got some setbacks with having to do other work, and then not getting wood from the tree service company because I got banned, right? But either way, even if I had other places to go pick up wood, I didn't really have the time to go and get enough wood in there to be able to process it to fill the place. And excuse me, I probably had to still do. Oh boy, I probably still had to make 5 full cords or 5 bush cords of firewood to fill in that whole area so that I could finish it off, right? But I even made another section where I can start filling some firewood for next year as well. I leveled out some ground with sawdust so that I could turn it to dirt. I got some ready rack shelving, like the Home Depot, like store shelving, industrial shelving. I got a section of that, not very big, 3.5 feet wide, and then the section is about maybe 8 feet long. And that reminds me, I don't have the wire mesh decks. I gotta buy those, like the metal that you put to make the actual shelving. I don't want to put plywood because it would just rot, right? But yeah, I want to go and set that shelf up next year so I have more room for wood for the next season, right? So I think what I will do inevitably is condense that whole section that I have and move it all over so that I have that one section with the skids and the new section that I have to start for the next year. So we'll see what happens, but I want more smokehouse customers. I lost one this year because I don't know why I lost the guy. Maybe he found somebody cheaper, but he bought a couple loads off of me, and he was buying a lot of wood and using a lot of wood. And when he went for his third order, I needed to do a lot of wood, and I didn't have it ready because the guy cleaned me out from before. I got another customer who smokes at his house, and he bought a bunch of wood off me. And literally everything that I had that was dry that I could sell, they took, and both of them didn't want oak, and I had a lot of oak at the time as well. So yeah, all the then the maple is for the smokehouse, like the customer that I've always had for a long time. And the new guy was a Turkish restaurant, and they didn't want the oak, so that was a problem too, right? Because I had a lot of oak that I could have sold, but the guy didn't want it, right? So then for the third order now, when I was trying to get that ready, it takes time to dry too. So this guy ordered the wood, and within like 3 weeks, he ordered like, he ordered like, did I do 24 bags at first? Or 24 or 20, and then the next trip I did, no, I think I did 24 the first trip. And then the second trip, like 3 weeks later, I did 20 bags. And then he called me like 3 weeks later again for another 20 bags, right? And, or whatever I could get. And, you know, I tried to do a big order. Didn't want to bring the guy 10 bags. You know, he wants to spend the money. He wants to get all that, do his full order, right? So for the third trip, I started producing a lot of beech because I got 4 loads of beech coming into the yard from like one tree, and I got a lot of mulberry at the time, and the guy was okay with those woods, so I put aside a whole bunch of mulberry and a whole bunch of beech, and I guess cherry at the time too, and maybe apple. And then the guy just didn't want it. He didn't even answer his phone. So I still have not an IBC tote, but I got some other crates, like those collapsible industrial crates, not the huge ones, but smaller ones. I still have 2 of those crates. One's full of mulberry, one's full of beech, and then I have about 5 bags of each species in my shop still. So that one's hardly sold, and I have one customer, European guy, and he's come and he's bought 5 bags of beech so far. and he's coming from far too. He's coming from like, well, with traffic, it's about an hour away, right? It's probably only half an hour, 35 minutes from where I live. Maybe about 45 minutes from the shop. But it's about an hour in traffic, and he's come out to get some. He had to come to my shop one day on the weekend, but otherwise I would meet him out by the west end, Scarborough, Mississauga border, when I go meet my daughter. Because what I do for to get more business out west is I advertise that on the weekends or on Sundays I'm out by the Highway 427, which is a north and south highway. It's like a border between Toronto and Mississauga, and there's a lot of people in Mississauga and even beyond there. So if anybody's out that way, or even the west end Toronto too, then I can come out that way and I can meet them. I can sell them some wood, and I probably made, I don't know, not much money overall, but I probably made maybe, I don't know, maybe $500, $700, $800 over the years by doing that. Maybe a little more. I'm not sure. Not too much. Like, I don't really get much customers when I go out that way to do that, right? But yeah, I'd say maybe closer to $800 that I made over the years going out there. The last maybe 5 years I started doing that, right? So it's a little extra money, you know what I mean? But I got to try some of that beach on the barbecue, because I went to smell it the other day by lighting some up, and it smelled really good. It was kind of like sugar maple on steroids, a really nice flavor. And I only really started selling beach because one guy asked for it, and it was a European guy, and they use a lot of beech in Europe to smoke. So, same like the last customers, my new customers came and bought some wood off me the last couple times in the last couple months. He's European too, and they use the beech, right? So ever since that first guy asked me years ago, then I started selling beech. But I don't get much beech because beech doesn't really get cut down here that much. There's not much beech trees to begin with, and then sometimes you get them, they're cut down and they're like hollow, they're like rotten out. But the beech that I got last year, it wasn't rotten. It was tree was nice and healthy, but they're just doing some building there, so they had to get rid of this huge tree. Guys, the trunk on this beech tree, how big was it? Like, it's probably 4 foot diameter. And yeah, the trunk was massive. And then they had, so when I went there to pick up the first load, there's a lot of like the branch wood and stuff, right? They had the whole tree cut down, but they had all the branches that they brought to a pile, and then they had to have the guys bucking up the logs, right? And I could have just put them on my trailer, but then I would have had to cut them myself. And that's kind of better because then I can cut it to the length that I want it. But these guys have actually been improving on their cutting and cutting the proper length now, But for when I first met these guys, they used to cut everything, like everything was like a firewood log and a half. That's how they used to cut it. And me and one of the other guys who work with the company, we had to keep telling them, you make it a certain length. You don't make it long like that. It can't fit in the fireplace. Even, a wood stove is smaller, but even a fireplace, you're cutting them too long for the fireplace, right? So I have to teach these guys. But they're cutting it better now. I don't mind doing less work, But the trunk, there was 2 sections of the trunk. One was really knobby from like it was coming off, and one had a big knob like where it came out like this, but then it tapered in like this on the top, and then another one, it had another one like that, and there's like 3 or 4 of them all around the trunk. But the big section was pretty straight all around. You could see where limbs had been cut off in the past, but the profile all around was very flat. Even though you could tell there was some other limbs that were there, and you could see that once you look inside that wood, the grain's going to be all over the place because of those knots, like just massive knots. I'm not even talking small, like massive knots. I was surprised that the tree still had such a smooth shape on the outside and that section of the tree. But you could tell, like, that wood was no good for firewood because this all those knots all over the place. Like literally, the knots were like this round on the tree. You know what I mean? You could see where the branches were cut off before. But I was trying to get that wood loaded up because they had machines on the site where they could load that thing, and I didn't think they had. I mean, obviously they moved the tree from where it was, but what I did was when I picked up a load and I went to drop off the load, and I started doing some cutting first so I could make some room for the fresh wood that was coming in when I went to do the second trip. Right, so I was at the Woodyard for like an hour and a half, like, you know, cutting and shrinking the pile after I loaded it, right? And because I did take some longer pieces too. Everything that I took wasn't cut up, you know what I mean? And or maybe even, I can't remember, but maybe I cut some wood that was in the pile before so that I can reduce the pile before I unload the stuff that I picked up, right? And so I came back because I called, there's a guy who does live edge right around the corner from the shop. So I called him to see if he wanted the wood, but he said, "Oh no, my truck's down, I can't take it." I said, "Well, I might be able to bring it to you, right?" And he said, "Okay, see if you can." I showed him pictures. He said, "Yeah, that's really nice. Bring it by." And then I went back to the job site to go and get the trunk, and the trunks were gone. So I could have made like a few $100s off those trunks easy. That's so much for that. You know, who's in here now? I think I'm gonna call it a night, guys. But who else is in here now? Anybody want to say something? I think some people just left the chat, left the live stream running. Let me make a extra few cents or whatever. But and what's this crown symbol for? I see this popping up in the chats and everything. I don't even know that. I'm a YouTube creator, right? But yeah, I'm gonna go back to my messages here. I might have some work inquiries and stuff like that. I think my friend was um, checking in on me here. Whatever. Yeah, I gotta go through my phone, see my messages and stuff. And so I guess I'm gonna call it a night. And it's also 4:20 time as well. And I see the like button has been clicked, even late to the live stream. A couple of people every now and then come in and click the like button. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see what happens in 2026. Hopefully it's a good year for everybody. Hopefully things are better. James J says, yeah, 420 about to happen. You bet, man. Yeah, Happy New Year, you know. Thank you very much. Yeah, let's see what happens, man. Let's just hope that it's a better year than last year. Last year is just crap, guys. I'm not happy about 2025, man. Everything was lacking last year. Everything was lacking, man. So, anyways, I guess that's it. I'll see you guys in the future. Like, subscribe, share, comment, and all that good stuff. Just got in from work, munched some food, scrolling the tube, and found you. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, man. Cheers, you know? I like when people come together, man. Especially like the Firewood crew and everything, right? Some good people's here. All right, take care. See you soon.